Testing, testing. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. It's been a little while. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. So I see Dr. Strangle in chat already. It's good to see you, man. Hope you've been well. Dr. Strangle says, do you see the Sage's a new video going over if Genjutsu works crossverse? This one isn't just an off-the-cuff segment from one of his live streams. I did see that. Yes, I think somebody posted it in the Discord as well. So I've only watched the first maybe 5 or 6 minutes of it. I pulled it up because it might be fun to talk about on stream, so we can definitely talk about that. If you would be interested, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts as always. This stream in particular is probably going to be one of the least focused streams, meaning that I don't have a as clear cut of an agenda as I sometimes do. Because, well, first of all, let me get a little bit of housekeeping stuff out of the way. I recently wrapped up on a game that I've been working on, which is great. It's super fun to see everything kind of come together at the end. But of course, I kind of was unhealthy with my work schedule, and over caffeination and undersleeping and stuff, leading up to having to travel because I was trying to clear my plate out before having to travel. So I exhausted myself, then I traveled out of state for a while, and then I came back, and then of course more work had piled up, so I'm, just as of a day or two ago, I finally managed to actually close, I think for realsies this time, and then all of the exhaustion, and so I think I caught a bug as well, just caught up with me and kicked my ass. So I'm sorry I didn't make it on Thursday, I'm sorry I'm kind of late to setting things up for tonight. And just as a heads up, this might be a little bit sketchy, just because I don't have my whole giant spreadsheet with all of my Pepe Sylvia clues laid out. It's kind of off the cuff tonight, but I did want to hang out with you guys, see how you guys are doing, and also just share some thoughts about a recent stream that I participated in on Eon's channel and some discussion there. I've started cracking into One Piece a little bit, just a little bit. And I want to talk about what my experience has been like trying to talk to people about One Piece scaling and how that compares to some of the Naruto scaling that I've also been talking to people about. Interesting to see the overlaps between the sources of conflict in the community, so to speak. Yeah, so that being said, we're going to let's have a general power scaling discussion first, and then we can kind of dive into more specific topics. I will say, if anybody is joining the stream, anybody's already here, and you want to, basically what I'm going to request, if people are interested in this, is I don't know anything about One Piece really, but there are two things that I sort of, kind of, not really debated about on Eon stream, which were the continent splitting feat from Don Chinjiao, am I saying that right? And then the supposed light speed feat of Luffy dodging the slow beam from Foxy. And basically the way that conversation went down was, I was like, I am skeptical about this and curious about this. I hear people are saying that Chinjiao is Continental because he split this ice continent. I'm hearing people say that Luffy is Lightspeed because he dodged photons. So thinking about our discussion about Naruto supposedly dodging photons in the Retsuden novel, I wanted to understand, well, what is the context for this supposed feat? And things escalated way faster than I was expecting. And so basically, what I want to try to do is I want to try to look at some of these feats from a neutral perspective. Just, I guess, maybe saying neutral isn't 100% accurate because I am taking a skeptical stance, but I'm trying to remain neutral, trying to remain open-minded and see where the evidence leads. And so if you guys have any other One Piece feats that you would like to suggest, hey, I am convinced that this character is this strong based on this thing, I think this is a very clear-cut thing, feel free to suggest them. I'm mostly interested in, the higher-end stuff, if characters get up to the speed of light or continental or planetary or stuff like that. You know me, I'm interested in kind of what I would call the extreme takes or whatever. I'm not necessarily going to dispute if, Garp is, large city versus small country level or whatever based on the impact of his meteor punch or whatever. I forget. See, a galaxy fist. I don't even know. I don't even know the proper terms, right? So I'm not gonna nickel and dime it, but I do want to try to understand just in general, how people think about this stuff, how they get to certain conclusions. So let me go ahead and catch up with chat. I see Shinigami in the chat. It's good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope the art's been going well. Sorry if I haven't really responded much to Discord. I really am just kind of catching up on like life in general, reminding myself how to eat properly, how to sleep, how to hydrate. It's been 2 stupid weeks of me just like not tending to stuff. So thank you for your patience in the meantime. Dr. Stanko says, while going over the evidence, he used a scan from a Kishimoto interview, but misses the important part at the end of the answer. Kishimoto says chakra is like the Force from Star Wars and Ki from Dragon Ball. Very, very interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, like, I want to reserve judgment until I've seen the video. Almost always, when I respond to any video, like Sage, Noodles, Ki, I've watched the video, like, at least 2 or 3 times beforehand because of my, I acknowledge that I don't necessarily have a like the greatest attention span, and I don't want to like I'm very like paranoid almost of misrepresenting people, so I watch it over and over again. This time it's kind of like a blind reaction, similar to how we blind reacted to, was it the Lightspeed video that we did in Discord. So I had some initial knee jerk reactions of like, wait, what the fuck, um but they were based on the first few minutes, and for all I know, he addresses those later. Not to be coy about it or anything, but I was kind of taken aback by his statement that like genjutsu is something that never really gets explained to us, and then he goes to these other like peripheral sources like the birthday columns or the 71, what was it, like the quiz book or something, um which I think I might have actually just received that. I think somebody in Discord recommended that I pick one up, and I got the order placed at the very least. But yeah, anyway, it's like I'm pretty sure that the data books and the series are both very clear about how genjutsu works. So I was like, wait, what the fuck are we doing? But I mean, again, reserve judgment until I've actually seen the thing. Um, Shinigami's gonna join soon, more properly. Yeah, no worries, dude, no rush. I'm still kind of ramping up, still kind of getting settled in and all that. Dr. Stein says 2 power systems where everybody has the energy, but not everybody can use the energy. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that like I'm gonna go ahead and like state my bias or my own perspective or whatever, where when it comes to power scaling, if you're gonna do crossverse debates, I'd kind of rather have all the characters have access to their abilities. So, for example, if like to use sort of a related example, if we put Ino in, I don't know, Ranma One Half, that's the show that I watched recently, or like Full Metal Alchemist. Actually, I'm like almost done watching through that. Really, really great show, FMA Brotherhood. Really enjoying it. Let's put Ino in FMA Brotherhood, and let's have her try to use her mind transfer technique on like one of the homunculi. If you're not familiar with that series, a homunculus is basically like an artificially created human, like an android kinda. A magical android is a way to think about it, right? So let's say that she uses her mind transfer technique on them. Now, you could argue philosophically, semantically, that maybe because they're artificial humans and they're in another universe, maybe they don't have minds the same way that human beings do. And so, in a debate, can you really prove that you can actually hack into their minds and would they have the same kind of mind as a normal human? And I get that, and that's like, that would be fun to discuss. I think it would make for an interesting conversation. But if I'm debating, like, even if I'm debating for FMA, I would rather just give Ino that ability, right? Because if I'm debating against Ino, I want to debate against the version of her that gets access to all of her powers. And her mind transfer technique is like a very core technique of hers. To deny her that just because there's no proof that it works cross verse, I mean, to me, that kind of removes the value of the hypothetical in the first place, like by placing these weird artificial limiters on things. But also, if a character like Itachi has essentially an instant win button, if you perceive it that way, right? Where like if he activates his Tsukuyomi, then he just wins the fight. Then it's kind of not fun to have a debate about that. Like, yeah, Itachi solos your favorite verse, he kills your favorite character without even like breaking a sweat. That's also not fun either. To me, the whole like the most compelling death battles or like matchups are against characters who are relative to each other but who have asymmetries in their overall skill set. And so I think any character who has like an instant win button, that maybe there's a case for that instant win button being disabled to make the fight more interesting. But also, like, why not give everybody all their abilities and just see what happens, right? So I'm in favor of just saying Genjutsu's work. Fuck me. Genjutsu just works cross-verse because fuck it, like why not? Like just have fun with it and just use all the abilities. But also, I sympathize with the perspective of like, well, yeah, what if the Genjutsu is like I don't know, instant deletion, if that's how you see it, then it would just make for a boring conversation. And isn't that kind of what the point of these conversations is in the first place, is to be interesting and stimulating and thought provoking. Like we are creating hypothetical essentially like little mental Rubik's cubes almost, right? Like we're creating complex problems to see how these complex interactions of complex variables produce results, and then seeing if we could like figure out in any sort of fair way what those results would be. If we go into the conversation already having things so simplified, it's like, oh, it's already a foregone conclusion, and to me that takes some of the fun out of it too. So I get it. I think at least that I get both sides of it. I just wanted to state my perspective before I go like picking apart somebody else's work. But hey there, Blackpool, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for checking out the stream tonight. Blackpool says you are deep in One Piece now, Foxy Arc already. Well, to be fair, I'm cheating a little bit because I've read up until chapter 10 or 15. I was just going over some stuff with like was it Buggy firing the Buggy Ball, and like I was writing down notes last night about like, okay, so Luffy is in this cage and it seems like he can maybe chew through the bars with his teeth, like he's making dents in the bars. So, okay, that, I'm looking for things like that. Okay, so Zolo can pick up the cage, but it says Buggy's men said that it took them like 5 or 10 men to just move the damn thing, and he's just like sprinting with it. So okay, like I'm identifying already in chapter 10, or wherever it was, there are some superhuman feats going on here, and I'm not even talking about stuff like the devil fruit or whatnot. Um, but yeah, I also am noticing that was it Buggy as well? Whoever the guy was that ate the chop fruit, and he was able to be like disassembled but still keep on living and moving his limbs around and like using his detached hands as swords or whatever. There's clearly some physics and some power stuff that's going on in One Piece that isn't, at least from what I can tell as a first time reader, like doesn't follow the same kind of more grounded logic of Naruto. Now, granted, right? Naruto gets up to some kooky stuff later on. Like obviously there's like soul manipulation and making clones of yourselves that can retain consciousness and transfer memories and stuff. Like there's some esoteric stuff, but like if you had to put like FMA as an example, um I think FMA and Naruto are both like more grounded, whereas so far early One Piece feels a lot like early Dragon Ball, like pre Dragon Ball Z, where there was like, oh, this character can fire a beam that will target the darkness and the evil in your heart and expand it, causing you to explode, and the only way you can survive it is if you are quote unquote pure of heart, whatever that means, right? There's a little bit more magic to it, a little bit more whimsicalness to it. So of all the fucking things to get mad about, like, I guess I can kind of understand people going to Naruto and being like, oh yeah, this cool, like, this dark, edgy series with assassins and blood and betrayal and stuff. Like, it's really important that we get this stuff very accurate. You don't understand it. It's very precise. It's about assassins. It's about, like, lethal precision strikes. And then, like, Luffy is in One Piece, like the first 10 chapters, the character's like severing his limbs and having them fly around like fucking Rayman. It's like maybe we can take this a little bit more with a grain of salt, right? Like maybe this is intended not to be taken quite with the same level of scrutiny, which doesn't mean we can't have like reasonable, fair arguments about it. I would still advocate for that, but yeah, it's just just having that surreal moment of being like, no, you don't understand. Objectively speaking, the chop fruit is better than the gum fruit. Or like, what? It's just so silly to take a step back sometimes and being like, we're grown ass men yelling at each other over the goofiest shit, and I fucking love it. I love it so much, genuinely. But anyway, One Piece power scaling is not linear person A over person B over person C, but C's over A. It's a basic concept. Yeah, you know what? I think that what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and I think it probably applies to a lot of different verses as well, including, for example, Naruto. I don't think that, like, I think in this is actually, funny enough, this is something that Noodles brought up. It's one of the few things that I actually agree with him on. But, like, he brought up in one of his debates that it's not necessarily like a rock, paper, it's more like rock, paper, scissors than it is this linear scaling thing, right? Because different characters, depending on their matchups in Naruto, may have very, very different abilities with different synergies or different counters or whatever. Perfect example of that is Sasuke versus Deidara. Can you imagine how that fight would have gone down if Sasuke had all of the same abilities? Like, he could do literally all the same stuff, but instead of Deidara having Earth style, like his jutsu also did all the same things, but they didn't have that weakness to electricity, to lightning style, right? Like, that would be a completely different fight. And obviously, the fact that Sasuke had a typing advantage doesn't mean that all of his other feats are invalidated. Like he just won for free. Absolutely not. But also, he probably would have fucking died like multiple times over without that typing advantage, right? So I don't know, but he might have done better or worse against Sasori. He might have done better or worse against Kakazu. It really depends, right? The matchups do make a huge difference. So I definitely respect that. Dr. Strangle said, I sent a link in DM of the volume where Luffy dodges the slow beam. You want to see my take? Yeah, totally. I think it was like 300 or 315 if I remember for on stream, but let me take a look at your DM real quick. Let's see. Oh, 310. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Oh, you've done an article about it. Yeah. If you're cool with it, let's just take a look at this real quick. Volume 33 covers the first half of the long. I can't even. I don't want to. I don't want to. I feel like I'm gonna sound racist if I try to say this and make any mistakes. Long ring, long land dark, and the titular Davy back fight. Okay, so one like yeah. This is exactly what I was talking about. Okay, so to give a little preview of what or actually, cat, wait, don't jump on there. Sorry, my cat's acting up. Yeah, let me keep this open. Let me finish catching up on chat, and then we'll dive into this because this is super helpful. This is exactly what I was talking about on Neon stream. Right? How about no? Hey, how about no? Hope you're doing well. How about no says the continent split is the most overrated thing of all time. It's 6 meter wide split that's 6 meter deep. I legit had to be uber generous to get it to the megatons. Yeah, that was my response too. Like, so basically to kind of like give a little preview of what I'll be talking about a little bit more in a little bit. Hello, cat. Yes, hi. Basically, what Eon was saying was that he considered the continent splitting feat to be continental. So if I'm not gonna get all the details right, probably for what I remember, it's like this character, Chinjiao, right? Like he splits the continent, and then he says like his descendant has gotten enough respect, and he's acknowledged as being somebody who's capable of splitting the continent of ice. So we have multiple people saying that they're capable of splitting the continent of ice, and then Luffy or somebody relative to Luffy is relative to this continent splitting feat. Therefore, it literally says splitting a continent. That means breaking a continent. So at the very least, these characters are continent level or continental in the fragmentation like sub tier. They're fragmentary, or as opposed to like pulverization or like vaporization, they're at least fragmentary, right? So, as somebody who doesn't know anything about the series but wanting to learn more about that, the questions, and I do think that this conversation was pretty productive. Like, Eon was gracious enough to like let me hop on VC with him during the stream and like interrupted the stream for us to talk, which like motherfucker doesn't owe me anything, so like that was cool, like genuinely. And we had a pleasant conversation where he kind of broke down his perspective, which, not to straw man, I hope I'm getting this right. Basically, it's like, okay, if a character is stated to have a feat of destroying or breaking a continent, then they are continental because of the use of that term. Essentially, why would the author, like the author clearly wants us to understand that the character is capable of breaking continent because they use that language. And so I look at this, I see a continent being split, so for me, it's continental. That I think that was his position. And my concern, or like my rebuttal, or whatever you want to call it, was, okay, but in power scaling terminology, you know, the term continental, continent level, refers to a specific energy output. So for us to confirm that this is continental, I think we would need to look at the feat itself. And when the character says splitting a continent, that's fine, that the character says that. But what literally are they actually referring to with that? What is the action that takes place that splits the continent? How big is the continent itself? Eon seemed content to basically just say, look, they said it's the continent is made of ice that is so thick that it's resistant to pickaxes and fire. Therefore, splitting it, a continent like this, should be continental. And you know what? I actually don't like have a grudge against that, for lack of a better phrase. Like, that's okay. You know, like if you want to if you're just reading through the series and you're like, I am going to use the term continental to refer to this character who literally says he literally did this thing. I'm just like paraphrasing it essentially. Then like there's nothing like cosmically philosophically wrong with that or whatever. It's nothing to get mad about. But what I found frustrating is that within the like sphere or the realm of power scaling conversations, we're all kind of agreeing to house rules anyway, right? Like, if we are doing power scaling, we're essentially saying we're going to use a set of metrics, a set of standards, and agree to a competition almost like a sport, right? Not to be too dramatic about it or anything. But in order to have a fair competition, in order to have like some kind of a standardized way of fairly evaluating these things and talking about them, we have a series of terms that we use, a series of brackets that we use. We don't all have to use the same ones necessarily, but there has to be some kind of like vaguely fair framework in which to operate under to maintain some kind of consistency. Otherwise, it's just like everybody can make up whatever terms they want. Like I can say continental, and like I can say the example I always use. Maybe you guys are getting tired of it. I don't know, but like I can say that Raditz is island level because he could blow up Kame House. But if your character can't blow up Greenland, like they try and fail to blow up Greenland, well, then they're not continental, or not island level even, because they failed to blow up the island, right? But obviously, like the fact that those two things are semantically islands, they're still vastly different in terms of mass, in terms of how much energy it would take to destroy them. So, from my perspective, I think we need to be very clear about what terms we're using and why. We can use whatever terms we want. Language is arbitrary. It's descriptive, not prescriptive, right? But at the end of the day, if we're engaging in like a community discussion, and there is already an established set of like standards and terms and stuff within that community, I think it's if you're going to just completely ignore that, then that's going to create some confusion, probably for yourself as much as others. So why not use the terms and do the calcs and do the investigation, try to make sure that you're being accurate under those terms. And this was kind of the same way that I felt about the slow beam stuff, right? Is because, and I'm sure we'll get to it in a second. Yeah, this Foxy's his name, right? Foxy refers to these things as oh, dude, this is so cool. I need to set this up for my website as well, because the gallery that I set up recently doesn't really look doesn't look as good. This is a really cool format. I really appreciate this. But yeah, basically he says like this is an as of yet undiscovered particle or photon or something, and so I'm gonna call it slow photons. And so photon means light, so it's light, so it's the speed of light. So these characters are, dodging the speed of light, and I'm like, really, like, definitely doesn't seem that way in the anime. I don't know how the One Piece community regards the anime versus the manga, but I checked out the anime scene too, and like these fucking little beams here move pretty damn slow. Like they are not moving around the earth 7 times in a second, that's for sure. And the motherfucker always shouts before he attacks as well. Like, so he telegraphs his attacks, he's incredibly obvious about them, and then the beams themselves also seem to have a travel time. Maybe they're comprised of things that he's calling photons, but these little disks have a travel time that is way slower than light, from what I could tell. So, anyway, let me catch up on chat. I don't want to leave people hanging, but then, yeah, let's read through this together. How about No says it's a good example of keyword scaling. People see continent. Yep, you beat. You're really good about like precogging the arguments that I'm about to, or the stuff that I'm about to get into, right? Exactly. Keyword scaling is a great term for it. People see continent, then turn their brain off. In fairness, people in general are bad at math. Dude, I will be totally honest about that. I am terrible at math, and I used to be pretty good at it. I took like calculus and stuff when I was in high school. I was actually really into math. I loved it for a while, but then I ran into this like weird snag that's like a social anxiety thing, where I think you guys might have seen this on stream. I had to do like some very basic subtraction. It was like Itachi was this age here and he was this age there, so how much time has elapsed? And it was literally just subtracting the two ages, like 22 minus 12, right? And I paused, I stopped talking, and I brought up, excuse me, a calculator in my other window, and I did that simple ass calculation that I could have easily done in the other window, because I get a really weird like paralytic social anxiety around doing math. I have no idea where it comes from, but it's like all the lights go off in my brain and I just stare at the fucking page and I can't I just crumble. It's like my Achilles fucking heel. I have to figure this shit. Like, I might need to talk to my therapist about this shit. It's really bad. To the point where like I low key have like low grade panic attacks when I have to tip somebody. I usually because I'm like, what fuck? It's so simple. It's just like 369 plus 20, I don't know, I can't even think of the numbers right now, but it's like, okay, like I spent $25 at this burger place for me and my partner, and I have to give them a 20% tip, and I'm going to fucking panic, like, because I don't want to write it down and then be wrong. I don't know what it is. It's like, I don't know, had some horrible nightmare about numbers when I was a kid, and it like traumatized me or something. I'm still working through it. But anyway, let me not judge anyone based on their math skills, right? It's not for me to judge. It would be the epitome of hypocrisy. But at the same time, I feel like, if I were gonna do it, like I was just talking to Sage recently, or well, talking at Sage is more appropriate to say, about like the conversation we had a year ago about the moon and tonary and calculating the size of the moon. If I wanted to put out a video or to have a debate about what the actual size of the moon in Naruto was, I would feel like if I didn't at least try to get a calc for that, that I was probably uh, leaving some data out, that I probably wasn't doing my homework. And if I couldn't do that, then I think it would be kind of up to me to do that, like to reach out to the community and get the get input from people who actually do calcs and are good at them and like them, right? Now, Eon, again, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I hope I'm not misrepresenting him, but I think he's of the opinion that a lot of people share. I think that calcs are inherently unreliable because they rely on the assumption that the manga panels themselves and the way that the author is drawing the manga panels, that it's gonna be consistent, right? For you to use a calc of the curvature of the Earth, you're assuming that the way, like if I took a picture of the Ten Tails Bijuu bomb blowing up the Shinobi headquarters or whatever it is from Naruto, like we've talked about before, Doctor Strangle, right? And we look at the curvature of the Earth in the distance, and I try to use that to get an approximate size of the Earth in Naruto. That is resting on the assumption then that particular shot, like that camera angle, that depth of field, everything, that actually accurately represents the actual Earth, and it's not like stylized or being depicted from some sort of angle that's not entirely accurate for whatever other reason, some optical illusion or something, right? So usually one data point is not going to be enough, and I find it difficult to believe that the authors of these various manga are sitting there with like protractors and like laser levels and stuff like that, and like being extremely precise about all this stuff. But at the same time, if you did actually want to present a calc, and you're referring to something like island level or continental, you're referring to a number, right? It's like we say pi, we're referring to a actual number. When we say continental, we're referring to a minimum number of energy output. So once you start like bringing those things in, regardless of whatever you call them, you are starting to enter the territory of like facts and figures, right? So if that's the right term for it, just like you're changing the conversation a little bit and starting to rely on like quantification of feats. And at that point, I think it does make sense to at least try to get some calcs to see how things stand up. You don't have to accept them as gospel. I don't think you should, but they're just one piece of evidence, and the more pieces of evidence that you get, you can start to build a consistency for something. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling a lot, but hopefully that made some sense. Okay, so let's see. Let me I just saw Ryomen's comment. Not a single feat above city level in One Piece. I don't know about that, but I've only read maybe not even 1% of the manga, so I am in no way qualified to say for sure. But I feel like isn't his name Garp, the guy who does? I never remember what it's called. It's either called like Galaxy Punch or Meteor Punch or Fist or something like that, right? Like that scene. I think that's probably above city level, probably, but I don't know. And like, if the series scales significantly higher than him, then I think there's room for city level stuff. I just don't think that the continent breaking some ice, some amount of ice. That's the thing too. That the ice only goes. Somebody else said it before, right? It's only 6 meters deep, right? I don't know if I haven't calculated that myself. I'm willing to just sort of take your word for it. But yeah, it's not like like they split the continent all the way down. Like if you know Avatar: The Last Airbender, when Kyoshi divides the island, like Kyoshi Island from the mainland, right? Like there, she's at least cutting off a chunk of Earth and like splitting the earth and we see like a fissure form and like magma starts to come out and shit like that. We don't really see that happen with Chinchou or whoever splits the ice. It's just like he cracks through some of it, a fissure opens up, sure, but then like there's a huge hollow cavern underneath. That's the point. It's like a treasure storage area, right? It's a treasure cache. So it's a big open canyon almost that he just sort of opens the lid to. Um, so yeah, I don't know. If I to me it's like vaguely analogous to saying if I could like punch through the hood of my car and like rip the hood off so that I could get at the engine block or something. Maybe it's a stupid analogy, I don't know. But like you know what I mean, right? Like that doesn't mean I am car level, like I'm destroying the car just because I'm like the Hulk and I can punch into it and like rip out the engine. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good analogy, but anyway, um, let me see. How about No says it's a good example of keyword scaling? Yep, everyone has access to their abilities. The default assumption in like every form I've seen genjutsu work cross source isn't really debated at all. It's obvious consequence of the discussion at hand. Yeah, that makes sense. I was kind of curious. I don't know who started it, but it definitely seemed like this thing that was kind of ping ponging around the community. Like, he said, she said, you know, like this person said that on stream, and somebody else reacted to it, and somebody else got upset and reacted more loudly, and then it's kind of come back and forth back and forth. But I've seen a few people talk about it. I know Abstract Section has talked about it on stream. Shout out to Abstract, by the way. It's a great channel. Really enjoy catching his streams whenever I can. But yeah, I wonder. It feels like every once in a while there's like a wave of a given topic that comes through the community. Like I don't know anything about him, but apparently there was that YouTuber called or TikToker called King Lion, right? The only thing I know about King Lion is that he said something to the effect that Naruto characters aren't planetary, and that everybody got really fucking pissed and made a whole bunch of fucking TikToks and YouTube shorts and stuff mocking him, and then a bunch of people got pissed at that, and then like for a month or two it felt like the only thing anybody was talking about was planetary Naruto, and then it just kind of died down and everybody lost interest from what I could tell. And it seems like this might be another one of those waves where it's like this is a hot button topic, like, oh dude, yeah, crossverse. But I feel like it's like the answer is like there are arguments for and against it. There's nothing that I've seen about it that's like super definitive. It's just like if you're gonna debate this stuff, just agree to the terms of the debate like beforehand, and then go from there. But the fact that I'm being blasé and apathetic about it doesn't mean that like anybody else needs to take that stance. Like if you care more about it and you have a more passionate opinion, don't let me discourage you. That's just where I'm coming from, right? Dr. Strang said he did say the databook doesn't go over genjutsu, but the page in the databook he shows that goes over chakra is 3 pages after the same section as genjutsu. Yeah, that was kind of weird to me. We'll take a look at that in a sec, actually. Some abilities in some series are balanced in their series by the specific mechanics of their power system, and I wouldn't give the opponents the other power system mechanics just so it can work. It's probably fair, yeah. It's a good point. I mean, like, well, it's one of those things. Like, maybe this is a bad example, right? But like, if Goku fired a ki blast at Naruto with his Rasen Shuriken, um, to me, I would just assume that like, regardless of how the thing was created, they are both energy-related things that are being created through their own in-universe like explanations or whatever. But once they are launched, once they're released, they are energy, and they can just clash and they can interact with one another, and we don't have to worry too much about it. But as I was saying that, I was like, okay, well, what happens if fucking Jigen or Jigen is fighting against Goku, and Goku fires a beam of energy at him, and Jigen tries to absorb it. I don't think he succeeds, right? He would be able to absorb an equally powerful Rasen Shuriken from Naruto, no problem, but not from Goku, because, as I understand it, Jigen's absorption ability relies on being able to absorb chakra. Same thing with the Predapath, right? One of the pains, the absorbi path of pain, and Nagato's ability. That isn't just energy absorption, it's specifically chakra absorption. I think the third data book specifies that the Predapath achieves the absorptive effect by like circulating the chakra network in reverse or something. So it is basically like it is a specific counter to chakra as opposed to just energy. And the fact that Jigen winds up being so egregiously harmed by just normal ass fire. I mean, granted, it's like extremely hot fire, right? It's like from the mountains of yada yada. It's supposed to be special fire, but it's quote unquote just fire. It's not Amaterasu chakra enhanced summoned hellfire or whatever. It's just fucking fire, right? And that does more damage to him. So I'm kind of like split, honestly. On the one hand, there's my lazy unk brain is like, can we just not fight about it? Just pick whatever and just have a fun time. But then also like, if I'm going up against you know, somebody who's arguing for a Naruto character and I'm arguing for DBZ, like it's not fair that their character would just get to absorb ki blasts if there's no in-universe explanation for that. The fact that they can absorb some shit doesn't mean they can absorb all of like Goku's attacks, right? So, but then again, I would say that the Predapath soul absorption would probably work on Goku. Like as long as he has a soul, it seems pretty clear that he does. Based on him coming back as with a halo on his head in the afterlife and stuff like that. So like, we don't need to get too down in the dirt like debating the semantics of the afterlife in both worlds. It's enough that he has something that fits the definition of a soul. And to me, like, unless you can argue that Goku, I don't want to, I don't want to start a fight about this, but like, unless you can argue that Goku has some sort of like soul manipulation resistance, I would say that like Pain could rip his soul out, right? But then you could counter that and say like, oh yeah, well Goku, blah blah blah. In this episode, he did something and he retained his soul in his body. Okay, then that's fine, right? Then we can kind of go from there. So complicated. Before I get back up to the other comments, I do see Saria stopped by. Hello, Saria. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Saria says, I can't stay long because I'm doing homework. Quantum wave function. Oh, that's fucking cool. Actually made a video recently going over it to better get in my head using Zelda as my example. And Toy would want to say hi. Hello, hello. It's very good to see you. Do you have a new video on your channel? I thought I saw that awesome cover that you did. I've been meaning to give you a compliment for the song cover that you did. It was so lovely. Let me see. I'm not seeing a new video here. The most recent ones I am seeing are the song cover and the Zelda timeline and lore, which was really fucking good, by the way. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. I would love to see whatever new videos you're putting out. Is the carry video still in progress? Because I'm dying to see that when it's once it gets made. Oh wait, I see. You say I also did my carry video, a short version anyway, on TikTok, and it's far and away my most liked video. Fuck yeah, dude! Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so happy to see that. Excited to finish the full project now because people are interested. Oh wait, okay, so you're gonna do like a longer version for YouTube, dude. It's gonna be so fucking cool. Yeah, I was blown away by the passion and the detail and the level of interest and everything that you were cultivating about that topic. I feel like I left you hanging. I feel like at a certain point I didn't really have anything intelligent to offer beyond saying, yep, I agree, yep, I agree in that conversation. But dude, you noticed so many cool things and you drew so many cool parallels between, you know, like thematic parallels within the narratives, if that made sense. You can probably tell my brain is really fried, but I'm trying to say that I thought it was really cool. I'm so happy that it's out there in the world and that people are responding well to it because, dude, there's a community of people who love that specific type of thing and like will resonate with it and will feel heard and seen, if that makes sense. So I'm really like I'm actually grateful that you made that. It's gonna, I think, help people, if that makes sense. But yeah, I can't wait to see the YouTube version as well. I hope you're doing well. In the meantime, good luck with the homework and all that. Let me see. Would you let the mind transfer jutsu work on a T-800 from Terminator? That's a very good question. Very good question, actually. I think it depends on... I think it's debatable. I think, on the one hand, you could say that the T-800... that's the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger is, right? If that's the case, then he does appear to have some kind of consciousness. The fact that the consciousness is coming from a biological, mechanical source rather than a biological source, I'm of the opinion that I imagine might be a little bit of a hot take, but I'm of the opinion that consciousness can arise through non-biological means. It's an opinion. It's not something that I have backed up by hard science or anything, but like, I don't necessarily think that that consciousness can only emerge from a biological process. I think that it could hypothetically emerge from any analogous complex system. So I don't have the problem. I actually don't have the a problem with like the idea that a robot could have a quote unquote soul if we humans indeed have souls. This is getting too philosophical, I guess, but like using the term soul to mean like your own consciousness and identity, I guess. Um, we have biological computer in brain. That biological computer produces biological consciousness slash soul, and we call it soul because it's a convenient term and it's a useful term to refer to this thing that we kind of don't understand. But I don't see why it might not be possible for something similar to emerge from a non-biological process. In the same way that like we're carbon-based life forms, there could be maybe silicone-based life forms or the life forms based on some other molecule or something that we don't even like fully understand yet, right? Like it doesn't have to be like flesh. That life forms don't necessarily have to be flesh. So I don't think consciousness has to be flesh either. So if we could agree on that, then I think it would make sense to have the technique work. I would certainly be totally fine allowing it, so to speak, in the context of a debate. But also there's the other layer of like, well, specifically the Yamanaka mind transfer technique. You could argue that it it's designed to project one's consciousness onto another person's body, right? So it's designed or into another person's biological mind. It's not necessarily designed to interface with a machine mind. So like could Eno if she was looking at a supercomputer like something that like from the Matrix, right? Could she project her brain or like her mind into the Matrix without plugging into it? I don't know if that's the way the jutsu works. I like that idea, but I don't really think there's a precedent for it in the series in and of itself. We would have to try to dig down into the functionality of like, okay, what is actually happening when she casts her ability? Is she taking her mind, her soul, and she's like physically putting it in something else, namely the other person? And as long as the thing can hold a soul, then it works, and or her mind, I guess. What is even the distinction between a mind and soul? Blah blah. Right. So like, it's one of those things where I would be totally fine. Like if I'm arguing for the Terminator and you want to argue that gets to use that on my character, fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to actually drill down into it and figure out like, can we construct a model of how this works? Like, how does it actually work? There's so many questions and so many like components that we have to break down and analyze that I don't know how we would get a like solid answer without getting like really weirdly philosophical about it. So it would be fun. It would be fun, but I would want to like I haven't studied theory of mind or like neuroscience or anything like that in a long time. I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about like machine consciousness or anything like that. But that honestly like that's one of the things that I really like about anime and about manga as like a learning and teaching tool. Like I've mentioned this before, but I never, as kind of, this feels kind of embarrassing to admit, but like I never would have taken the time to learn about quote unquote redshift nebulae if somebody hadn't said something wrong about that thing in a Naruto Discord. And I'm so glad that person, Sage and Six, actually, it was multiple people, used that term incorrectly and callously and incuriously, and that I was curious enough to go and look into it because now I know what a quote unquote redshift nebula is. Now I know what redshift is and what nebulae are, right? I've learned more about it, but for whatever reason, I just don't have the brain that's going to seek out that information unless I have like the initial catalyst for it. Like I need an excuse or like an incentive to go and do that research in the first place. Motivation, I guess, or inspiration, whatever you want to call it. And this is pure conjecture, but I would imagine that there are a lot of things like that that people wouldn't necessarily take the time to investigate unless they had a kind of nudge for it. But with that nudge, they could find it very interesting. So, for example, uh, this feat of punching through or like splitting the continent of ice, right? I actually don't really know much about how ice forms. I know that when the temperature of water slows down, the molecular structure changes. Um, it forms like a crystalline structure, which causes things to become more like rigid, and the opposite essentially happens when the temperature heat increases. But I don't really know all that much about it. That wasn't like a very good breakdown, I don't think. And frankly, there's a lot about like boiling points and melting and freezing and stuff that I just don't understand, and would like to. And so now, if I were to do a video on this topic, I would probably take a few minutes and try to learn about like a little bit about the science of ice formation, and then we as a community can kind of encourage each other to learn more about this stuff, like lightning. This is just my perspective, right? This is just my little slice of reality. It could be totally biased, but I feel like I have heard more and more people in the Naruto community, when talking about Kirin, start to use terms like return stroke versus downstroke versus step leaders and stuff like that. Like a couple of years ago, when I was just learning about this lightning shit for Kirin, mostly people were just saying it's a lightning bolt that gets cast down from the clouds. Like we all think of Zeus up there and on his cloud, like throwing down a thunderbolt, right? Like that's how lightning strikes are depicted so consistently in media. That's what I thought. And then I noticed everybody starting to use a bit more in, like, knowledgeable terms about it. I think folks have learned more about how lightning works because of arguing and like scrapping about this fucking Kirin shit. So that there is something good that can come out of this, is that, you know, if you wanna win arguments, so to speak, it, I think, behooves you to educate yourself on the topic. Obviously, it's not a requirement because unfortunately, there are other ways to win arguments. But I like that approach, and I see more and more people learning about the shit, and that's so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool that like we can encourage each other to learn about the shit that we otherwise would not have learned about. I wish there were a little less hostility that went into it sometimes, but you know, at the end of the day, I think we're slowly dragging each other, kicking and screaming, into better understanding. Uh, Let me see. So how about Noah then said, One Piece had good rock paper scissors matchups, and then hockey happened, and now it's just whomst can do a big punch or whatever. Free time skip also had that. Yeah, I keep hearing people talk about like conqueror hockey versus like sensory hockey or whatever, and so that's something that I haven't encountered at all. The only like powers that I've run into are like the devil fruits, right? So I guess Luffy ate a devil fruit and it made him really stretchy, and the other dude, what's his name? Buggy ate the chop fruit and it made him be able to like sever himself and like control his limbs while severed. Did Zolo eat a fruit as well? Like, is that how he can do room? He's like, it's just, I realized that probably sounded like the most like self-report, I don't know anything about this verse ever, right? But yeah, like that was what Eon was talking. Like Sage and Eon were going back and forth about that, right? About like whether or not like how far Trafalgar Law gets. Oh, no, it's not Zolo. It's Law. Yeah, it's Law. Okay. I just had to say the name out loud. Thank you, Dr. Strangle. I see that, yeah. Taria says, my girlfriend is grooming our cat, and Shadow is very sassy. He's not violent, but he puts his ears back often. So often there's a loud meow followed by a young man. That's so great. Dude, yeah, cats just have like an inherent like sass, like which got like a racial bonus in Dungeons and Dragons or something. Just like +10 to all sassy checks. So I'm way behind on chat here. Let me see. However you calculate the feed, it's not just Continental. Personal intuition is not a great method. Yeah, that's fair. And like, look, there's kind of two ways to look at it from my perspective. One is, dude, it's fine. It's a manga. Everybody chill. You can call it whatever you want. And then there's the power scaling asshole that's like, no, we have rules. We have rules for a reason, and we have terms for a reason, and terms mean certain things, and we should use them and follow the rules because I'm doing a bit of a mocking voice, not to make fun of anybody, including myself, but just to be like, I think I can understand why people would be maybe off-put by some other people being like so serious and so stringent and strict about things. Like, come on, do we really have to get a calc for all this stuff? Do we really have to use these terms? Or have to, right? I get it. It's a pain in the ass, but at the same time, it's like I want to advocate for that, because if not, we get into these weird situations where everybody has a slightly different version of these terms in their head, their own private interpretations, and it's really hard for us to have a conversation that's meaningful. Like how many people have their own like personal understanding, myself included, in the past of what blitz means, right? Like the term blitz was introduced into the power scaling lexicon, as far as I can tell, to specifically refer to a specific feat that meets a specific set of qualifications. But now people just use it to mean like a character landed a hit that the other character didn't happen to block. It's like the meaning is diluted, and then it gets really confusing. Like, well, that's not what I mean when I say blitz. What are you talking about? Well, I thought blitz meant this. Oh, you're not tracking, huh? Failure to track, right? And it's just like another fucking log that becomes like fuel for the fire, so to speak, of just the conflict. I think it's totally unnecessary. Anyway, Garp's Galaxy Impact, okay, is not even as good as Kobe's Honesty Impact in the area, at least calculations wise. Garp is also like one of the top tiers, stronger than current Luffy. Oh shit, okay. Well then that would put a cap on it, right? Because I don't know. I saw this feat. I watched the clip. This like dude comes out full like full swagger, just total badass, drops a fucking meteor onto a town essentially in the form of his punch, and the whole thing basically goes up in Ten Tails Beat You Bomb style. That's what I remember seeing. Does that qualify to me to make any kind of reasonable claims about it? No. I just saw Big Kaboom and I was like, Big Kaboom is pretty big. Not that big. Could be bigger, but could definitely be smaller. If other characters make bigger Kaboom, maybe bigger than City, because this Kaboom seemed to be City-sized Kaboom, but not sure. That's that's the most intelligent One Piece take you're going to get out of me tonight. Not to spoil anything. Let's see. Rioman says, split doesn't mean splitting 100% of the entire thing, can just mean piercing a portion of it. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, right? The term split could mean to split open, to split in half, to completely shatter. Like, there's a bunch of different ways that you could interpret that phrase, and I think that I don't want to slander, I don't want to be too rude or anything, but I think, like, if your goal is to find a way to get Luffy to Continental or something like that, then what you can do is you can scan to see if anybody mentions a continent being damaged, and then once you succeed at that, you can point to it and be like, look, here is a direct literal statement of the phrase split continent being used. Split is a form of destruction being applied to continent, therefore literally, semantically, you can argue that this character is Continental. Now, that I don't know what that style of argumentation is called, but I see it everywhere. You've probably noticed this in my responses to like Sage Key and Noodles, is that I feel like that must be the process. And I say this with a huge fucking lump of salt, because it's not fair of me to assume people's intentions, right? This is just my opinion from what I'm seeing from the outside, my incredibly subjective opinion. But what it seems like is, like, sometimes when making videos, people say, okay, I have a goal in mind and I want to represent this thing in this way. How do I do that? Okay, well, I've identified the thing that I want to represent. Now I have to go find evidence for it. Did I find some evidence for it? Well, yeah, if you look at this in a certain way, if you flip this a certain angle, if you just look at this and not this, then yeah, that would work. Okay, publish it. Wait a minute. People are going to take issue with what I said. People are going to counter me. How do I counter their counters? How do I preempt their counter arguments? Oh, I think I can shoot this down. I think I can deflect from that. Okay, cool. So I've got my initial piece of evidence that I'm going to put forward that fits what I was trying to identify. And now I've got a strategy. I've got a plan for dealing with the detractors. I can sprinkle in a little bit of like passive aggressive rhetoric in there too, and then call it a day. And that's all you got to do, right? So it's like, I think a lot of what I'm learning, what I've learned over the past year, well, actually it's more like the past month, I just had to have a reality check, is that I think I just assume that when people make videos on topics like this, or like get involved in discussions like this, that they start off from a neutral perspective and they just let the evidence lead them where it will. And so if person A, person B, and myself as person C, we all come to different conclusions, it's just a result of us misinterpreting the evidence or having differences of interpretation, missing some details or whatever. If we put our heads together, then we can all come to a consensus because we can help each other identify what the correct interpretation is, or at least make sure that we are clear about we have an accurate understanding of what the data actually says, and then we can draw our conclusions from that. Basically, I just assume from the get-go that's just a misunderstanding, and that has been an incorrect assumption, and this has been proven basically shouted in my face over and over again, and I just haven't listened. I just haven't been willing to accept this, and maybe I have a little growing up to do. That's just something I'm going to have to deal with, I suppose. I see very nice. Hey, Ursa, how's it going? Hope you've been doing well. Let me catch up with the rest of the chat and kind of making my way through some messages that I missed. Ryoman says, I have Naruto versus Island level currently. That honestly doesn't even make me mad. Naruto himself probably even lower. I don't scale the verse very high at all. Galaxy Impact is definitely not above silly level, but it says Galaxy. I mean, he's literally hitting everybody with the weight of a galaxy. And if you don't like that argumentation, I mean, you know how in Naruto, we know objectively that fucking Darui's laser circus attack has to be the speed of light because it's literally called laser circus. Hello, laser, it's in the name, it's laser circus. To which I would respond, yo, I don't see any elephants, I don't see any fucking big top, I don't see clowns juggling or anybody on a flying trapeze, so it's not literally a circus, therefore it's not also literally lasers. But no, it says so in the name. Galaxy 100%, yeah. Milky Way drop or something. I don't know. I'm sure I don't have to preach to the choir here about the naming fallacies and shit like that. Anyway. There is actually a Boruto arc where essentially says, how about no, they get put into a virtual world genjutsu in machines. Interesting. Okay. It's that. So I remember from the connections, right? Boruto X Naruto Storm Connections, the game. Let me see. There's that character called Nanashi, I think her name was, who created she used a limited Tsukuyomi, I think, or something analogous to that to create a virtual game space. It was a shared genjutsu world. I'd have to go back. It's been a year since we talked about that stuff with but that's something that Key brought up in his video, right? He was trying to argue that Nanashi, I think her name was, created an entire universe, and then basically put they were putting a genjutsu formula or something on these VR headsets that they were distributing to people, and then when you put the VR headset on, your body would stay in place, being kind of like the Matrix, but your mind would be quote-unquote transported to this other world. And so they were okay, in order for that to make any sense, this has to be a physical place that they're being transported to. But anyway, that's probably not what you're talking about, right? Let's see. Having to look up what a philosophical zombie is. Oh yeah, I think we talked about that before. I am now going to write this down for later. Philosophical zombie. Philosophy of mind, philosophical zombie is a hypothetical being that is atom for atom physically identical to a human, but entirely lacks conscious experience. Interesting. David Chalmers, that's a name I know. Yeah, okay, cool. I will look at this later for sure. That's interesting. Prime Garp is above Luffy. Not sure about that, but okay. Very nice says that's how power scaling should work. Big kaboom scaling. Yes, honestly, I would be totally fine with that. Do we really need to take our protractors out to be able to tell that the Ten Tails Biju Bomb has a bigger radius than the fucking Gyuki's Tail Twister, or even Gyuki and Naruto's combined Biju Bomb? We don't for the purposes of a debate, if we're getting super in the weeds about it, then sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with requesting that people be a little bit more precise about it and bring some calcs, especially in a debate. But at the same time, an average reader is not expected to, doesn't have to imagine the fucking Kishimoto sitting on his shoulder and comes to the conclusion wow, the Ten Tails Biju Bomb is so much bigger and more awesome and threatening and damaging than a random Biju Bomb from Gyuki. And then Kishimoto would lean over his shoulder and be are you fucking sure about that? John Cena coming out of the fucking the background, mean, like, excuse me, hi, I want to see the math for that, or you're not allowed to enjoy my fucking manga. Like, no, come on. Like, obviously, it's totally fine to not apply that same level of scrutiny. We decide to do this for our house rules because it's fun or whatever. But yeah, the argument is called conflation. Okay, I'll try to remember that. I feel like you've brought that up before. Um, that's how power scaling should work. Yeah, big moon scaling. So Ursa says the Continental stuff comes from a chapter opening page as well. A lightning character blew some shit out so hard it was visible from the Earth to the moon. Okay, that I mean, how big would something need to be visible from the Earth to the moon? Pretty fucking big, right? Like you could actually use you could dig down into that and get some metrics for that, right? Um, Continental stuff, yeah. So Ryoman says it wasn't necessarily NL who did that. Could have been that army with their technology or whatever it was. I'll take your word for it because I don't know for sure. Big Kaboom scaling wouldn't be perfectly accurate anyways, but you can't be accurate with AB calcs and things not explicitly as simple as speed formula because calcs require presuppositions. That might not be true in the story, even a coherent. Yeah, and this is something I think Dr. Strangle, you and me and Sage talked about this a while ago, right? Where we were talking about getting calcs for the size of the Earth in Naruto, and it's like I think people like you did this right, like you put a whole bunch of different panels on like a hypothetical circle representing the Earth and all that shit to try to get a sense of it. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily go off of any one given panel, but if you can get like a bunch of different data points from different panels, especially from like different arcs in the series, then you can get like average values that at least gives you something to work with, right? Let's see. Roman says, I think you can make an argument for light speed, Kage level being consistent due to sheer quantity. Haku statement, laser stuff, Raikage statement, Samurai statement, Anbu statement. Yeah, so, okay, not to pick a fight with you or anything, Ryoman, just to kind of share my own experience with this. What I found about talking to people about Lightspeed and Naruto was the same experience that I had talking to people about Lightspeed Luffy recently with the slow beam and all this shit, right? Is that like it becomes like this circle that constantly rotates, like a wheel that constantly rotates, right? So like for example, we talk about the Haku statement. You and I, let's say we had a conversation about it. I'm going to use you as an example, not saying that you actually believe this, right? But like, I would talk. Fuck, sorry, I'm kind of talking around myself. Let me start over. Let's say I'm talking to somebody about light speed scaling in Naruto, and they'll be like, "Okay, this Haku statement," and then I say, "Oh, well, here's the problems that I have with this Haku statement." Blah 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 blah. Right? Here's my disputation. Whether or not you disagree with it, even if that other person were to agree with my disputation of it, then what they'll say is, oh, but that's just one of many statements. It's still consistent. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And say, okay, well, let's go on to this, to the laser circus stuff. Well, the laser circus is obviously the speed of light, and that's just consistent. I'm like, okay, well, what about this specifically is the speed of light? And we talk about that. And then even if I quote unquote win that argument, not like I'm trying to win, make the other person lose, but even if we start to make progress, then they'll say, okay, but yeah, but that doesn't matter anyway because it's still consistent, right? And they just kind of keep moving. Maybe it's called shifting the goalposts, I don't know, but they'll keep moving to the next thing, moving to the next thing. And then before you know it, we're all the way back around to the beginning and we haven't made any fucking progress. And granted, I don't know anything about One Piece. I am ignorant about One Piece. But granted, I feel like that's what happened when I was trying to talk about the slow shit in Eon's chat, which is I was like, I would like to know why this is light speed, please. It seems like these characters are impressed by other characters surviving or dodging cannonballs. So how do we go from it being impressive to dodge a cannonball or survive a cannonball blast to speed of light and all those implications? Like, is that consistent? And then they'll be like, well, the cannonball doesn't matter because this says speed of light. Okay, well, how do we know that this for sure is a speed of light? I'm a little skeptical based on X, Y, or Z, and they'll say, well, yeah, but in chapter 500, this other thing happens at the speed of light, so it's consistent. And I'm like, okay, but what about this? Because I'm skeptical about this. Yeah, well, chapter 852, this thing happens. I'm like, okay, we can get to those feats for sure, for sure. I'm happy to talk about them. I actively, genuinely want to see them. But if every time we start to be skeptical or question or evaluate a given feat, you just immediately say, but then there's another thing over there, look, that doesn't help because we'll never actually succeed in evaluating the veracity of any one particular thing. It's like I don't think it's deliberate. I don't think it's malicious. I do think that there is this reflex of like if somebody challenges you on a topic, rather than just like exploring it in depth and drilling down and just like trying to leave the conversation with at least that thing resolved, you just move on. Like, why would you want to spend all that time and effort? I'm doing a bit here, right? Why would you want to spend all that time and effort when you already know it's consistent? If this person just won't stop yapping and won't agree with you on this point, just move on to the next one because you already know it's consistent, right? And it's like so fucking hard to just have a conversation about one thing. And you guys have seen this time and time again. How many debates start off with the debate being like, "Hi, we are going to talk about uh I don't know, fucking Kashin Koji versus Code. Who would win? Let's go. Let's have fun." And then like 4 hours in, they're like, and this is why I know for a fact that Kishimoto did write the data book, so they're canon. And it's like, fuck. It's just like things get so out of control, right? Which makes it entertaining, makes it fun, but it's like if you want to actually just understand what the fuck is going on, it makes it makes it kind of difficult. I just saw a message come in from Michael Dorsey. Hi, Michael. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good weekend. This is kind of a scatterbrain stream. We're just kind of talking about a bunch of random stuff. We're going to be talking about Sage of Thick Calves' video on Genjutsu working cross-verse in a little bit. At the moment, we're talking about One Piece for a little bit. I don't know anything about One Piece, although I am very curious about it. But I've been on El Eon streams. This dude over here. No, wrong. This dude over here. And I want to do a quick shout out to Eon because, in general, I feel like the way that he approaches making his content is cool. I like the debates that he has hosted. He's been a generous host, or a gracious host rather. He is very strict, maybe even too strict, although this is a good thing, about like making sure that people in his community are like for the most part, like, don't use derogatory language or don't go after people personally, and just I got good vibes from him overall, and I appreciated the little debate tournaments and stuff that I was able to participate in. Those were super fun. That being said, recently on his stream, had a bit of a disagreement with chat. Let's just leave it at that. And that disagreement kind of motivated me to want to learn more about One Piece scaling. And I will say that I feel like a lot of the pitfalls or a lot of the mistakes, if I can be so bold as to say I think other people are making mistakes, that people make with One Piece scaling are the same ones in the Naruto community. So it's just like it's fascinating to me to like, I don't know, to just put a toe in the water, so to speak, just like take one step across the aisle and be like, oh, you guys are having the exact same fucking problems over here that we are back at home. It's just about a different series, but it's like, yeah, and in a way it's kind of comforting, but like, as somebody who wants to try to help people just understand stuff better in general, I'm like, my perspective has definitely shifted from being like, oh my god, I love the Naruto community, but these guys are a little crazy. These guys, it's everybody. It's just, we're all lost. We gotta help each other out. Not to put too fine a point on it. Okay, let me try to focus up on chat for a second here. No tangible feat. Oh wow, I'm way behind. Sorry guys. Making armor for lightspeed Kage level, Haku statement. Very Nice says, not a single tangible feat puts him at lightspeed. I agree. Unlike in One Piece where it's hard not to be lightspeed. That's what I've heard. That's what I keep hearing, which is why I'm very curious to know what the... Also, just from a world building standpoint, like, I'm curious about how authors and creators of universes, like, sell the idea of their characters being lightspeed and all the implications of that. Because it's a moving at the speed of light is a big fucking deal. You kind of, if you introduce characters who move at the speed of light in your series, you kind of have to talk about it, right? It's kind of like time travel. Um, it has such massive implications for your verse if you decide to bring it up, that like you can call this an argument from incredulity if you want to, that's fine, but like I am incredulous as to the idea that like Kishimoto really wanted his characters to be depicted as Lightspeed, but instead of giving us any like obvious evidence for that in the series itself, he hid all these little cryptic hints throughout all these like scattered pieces of peripheral information. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's not exactly very good world building. I feel like you're low key insulting the creator by saying like, "Wow, this guy really didn't think about the implications of this at all, or include it in any sort of obvious and like clear cut way." So it's just a weird vibe for me. But hey, this is the opinion section of the video, so you can argue against it for sure. No one in One Piece is above supersonic except for Kizaru, Sanji, and Germa suit users. I like the idea that Zabuza would blitz Luffy. Um, but yeah, I mean, like that's the thing too. I don't know how high into JJK things, how high characters get into like the upper tiers of JJK. Fuck, why can't I talk tonight? I don't know how high the strongest characters and fastest characters in JJK scale, but when I just eyeballing it, when I saw that video of Maki fighting that guy who was like using the like future predictive technique or whatever, um, I was like, we really don't think that like Sakura. We really think that Sakura's just gonna blitz and one shot her. Like, we don't think that she has a chance. I don't know. She's moving pretty fucking fast. So yeah. But then again, that's not a calc, is it? Cap Yagami, the main cast up skills from aim dodging lasers pre time skip. The narrative makes the text slow in their opinion, regardless. Yeah, so Ursa, are you talking about the slow beam? Because we're going to be talking about that more in just a second. I want to go over Dr. Strangle's page that he shared. There's 0 damage to the moon, size of smoke kicked up. Oh, yeah, the size of the smoke kicked up, that would, because you'd have to account for, like, the expansion and the travel of the smoke plume and stuff like that. Yeah, that's not, well, I don't know. I imagine that there is a way to use math to predict the amount of input energy that it would take to kick up a smoke cloud of a given size. Like, if you see a mushroom cloud of a given size, you can probably make some assumptions about the amount of energy that got put into the explosion to generate it. But you'd also have to be aware that, like, obviously the cloud is going to drift and change in shape over time. Oh, I just saw your message, Kizaru's light lasers. Okay, that's something I'm not familiar with, but I'm happy to. One of the things I said, I think, before you showed up is that I'm happy to basically consider whatever speed feat. If you guys want to just like send me feats to look at, I kind of like to just approach them from a neutral, skeptical perspective and see where they lead, right? So feel free to, it might take me a minute to get to it, but feel free to send it if you like. Let's see. Don't disagree with that. Dr. Strangle lasers are confirmed to be slower than light speed. That's a very important consideration. Aim dodging means they're not moving relative to it, just outspeeding the aim of the wielder. Not so say anything, just explaining what that term means. Oh yeah, I got you. If it's aim dodging, it has no speed implications. Yeah, exactly. So I think you were here when we talked about this stuff in the Naruto Retsuden novel, right? People will try to argue that Naruto is objectively light speed because he uh, dodges a photon gun. Photons light, dodge light speed. You get it. But if you read through that novel, we talked about this at great length before, so just a very brief recap is that the novel is very clear that these things are excimer lasers, also called excimer lasers. They're the same kinds of lasers that you use, that people use in our real world to do like eye surgery, break up cataracts and stuff like that, right? And like LASIK is an excimer laser. Laser. Fuck. But yeah, Naruto manages to dodge laser blasts from drones that are firing at him on a motorcycle. He's traveling on a motorcycle with another civilian, and he's just sort of like weaving back and forth and dodging the quote unquote laser blasts, right? So they're not literally at the speed of light. They do cause a rapid thermal reaction, like they cause a small pinpoint uh, of a place to heat up very fast, and then it's kind of like they're basically like little portable Amaterasu cannons, right? The way that they're described as working is like they focus on a given area, and then they cause something in that small area to heat up very, very fast, and then that causes a very fast burning hot flame to spread across the target. So it's basically just like an artificial Amaterasu. But as you know, like even though the Amaterasu is really, really hot and it can travel quote unquote instantly along the line of sight of the user or whatever, it still doesn't instantly kill somebody, and you can still dodge the shit, right? So um it's kind of like that. And when people just quote like the first initial description that Shikamaru's giving of the lasers, where it's like, oh, they instantly burn up the target, and they leave out all of the like innumerable, well, I shouldn't say innumerable, let's just say dozens of examples of blasts being fired at characters, and those characters just dodging them. Like, they're not literally seeing the fucking stream of photons and then like, I don't know, fucking hitting the gritty to dodge them. They're not skirting around the photons. They are just not where the thing is. They are not in the path of the beam when it heats up, basically. So, okay, I really gotta catch up on chat. Hey there, Ultra Instinct Shadow. I love that profile picture. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream. Never seen a power scaling stream in my life. Well, welcome. We are talking about Naruto. We're talking about One Piece. We're talking maybe a little bit about Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was brought up before. This is a pretty loose, pretty free stream, so let me know if you have any questions. Just want to talk about whatever. Naruto is the verse I know the most about, but I'm trying to learn a little bit about One Piece. Okay, let's see. Michael Dorsey says 508 and 560. Okay, I'm going to write that down 1 second. Take a look at that together. So, 508 and 560. Pacifista lasers. Pacifista lasers. So, is it fair to assume that these lasers are just like there's no other special conditions for how these lasers fire or whatever? They're just like literal, like military, like the lasers that shoot down drones and stuff like that. If so, cool. How do I feel about star level Kaguya? So that's an interesting question, and it's something that I've gone back and forth about quite a bit. Basically, if like I'm not mad about it. It's the easiest way to put it, right? I think that from my reading of the series, when you consider how much energy there is in a sun, in a star, I don't see anything that Kaguya does in combat to be remotely comparable to like even the daily energy output of our sun, let alone what it would take to create a star, or destroy a star. That's roughly comparable to ours, to use an example. It doesn't make sense based on what I actually see her do. However, there is a narrative implication that she created her dimension, and along with that, there is the implication that she, depending on how you interpret stuff like what Zetsu says, that she created the planet that they're on, and that she created the star as well. Now, we don't, if I'm being pedantic and nitpicky and I'm doing the whole like debate thing, you can argue, okay, we don't know what the circumstances are for under which she performed that jutsu, if she did it all at once, if she did it piece by piece, if she grew the dimension over time, blah, 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 blah. I think the intuitive answer, the way that people will kind of come to it is like, well, she's basically a demigod, so she created a dimension, it has a star and a planet, and it boom, done, right? And that's fine. If that's how you want to interpret it, it's like, whatever. I think that's okay. So by that interpretation, you could say that Kaguya is star level, if by star level you mean she created the star in her dimension, and I think that's probably what we're supposed to get out of a casual reading of the series. So please, you have my blessing if you take that interpretation. That being said, I wouldn't accept that argument in a power scaling context, especially a debate, because to use the term star level, you're specifically referring to a specific minimum level of output of power. And so for us to evaluate that term fairly, we would need to know what the dimension of the star is, like how big it is, and how bright it is, how far away it is. We would need to know more data about that. And we would need to be able to reasonably agree, okay, Kaguya did this with like a single action. She used the star creation jutsu. And then whether or not that's relevant to her overall combat feats. Like, can she use that level of energy output in hand-to-hand combat with her other jutsu, or is it just like this one kind of special, almost hack kind of thing? Don't know about that. So for casual reading, for like headcanon, for opening interpretation, which by the way, that's not derogatory, right? Like, I think the default way of reading a story is casual and involving headcanon. I would totally accept Kaguya being star level. Personally, for power scaling, I don't think you can make the argument in good faith up to power scaling standards, if that makes sense, because I don't think there's enough evidence to really support it from an argumentative standpoint. Hopefully that made sense. I owe other people responses too, so sorry, but like, there's like, somebody mentions light speed, or somebody mentions like Kaguya Universal or Planetary or whatever. It's like the Manchurian Candidate style phrase. It just activates that part of my brain. It's like, I have to get into it. So, okay, so let me go up. I'm going up to Ryomen's comment. Or actually, let's see. Very nice. A while ago says, oh, number 2 on the leaderboards there. Nice. Climbing that ladder. That's not true. How about no dodging the aim of an attack that moves faster than a bullet is practically impossible for a normal person to do. You need some stats to dodge regardless. Yeah, but like, I think we're on the same page there. I'm just trying to think of, like, John Wick manages to quote-unquote dodge a whole lot of bullets. People are firing guns at him, but he never gets hit, and he is performing evasive maneuvers. So in a way, he's dodging the bullets, but we don't think that he is outspeeding the bullet, right? Like, he cannot move faster in a given direction than a, whatever, insert standard rifle or pistol round here, right? So it's one of those conflation things, right? Where that people will be like, okay, well, you can define it this way, like dodging. He is technically dodging a bullet, and what does dodging a bullet mean? It means being faster than a bullet, right? It's like, we have to be very careful about that. I'm sure you know where I'm coming from. I think you and I see eye to eye on this. That's fine. I'm just bringing it up because it's like, I'm sure you've seen this too, again and again, right? Ryoman says Luffy got Perception Blitz by Kuma's repelling speed, which is stated to be light speed. Oh, okay, it's stated to be light speed, but is it actually light speed? That would be my question. He thought the Straw Hats repelled by Kuma were disappearing from existence. Okay. If you're dodging the aim, the speed of the projectile is immaterial. That's literally the definition of the term and why it's used. Oh, I think I see what you're saying here. Yep. Ryoman says, Kaido also got hit by a sound attack. Ippo was giving Luffy and Zoro issues with his attacks. Okay, so there we go. If characters are... whoever Kaido is, he would be subsonic then, potentially. And this is like... I'm not prepared to dispute that claim, but what I will say is that... that kind of approach. So the other side of the other edge of the sword to talking about like moving the goalposts or like switching up topics, like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Right? Is that I think at the end of the day, that is kind of what you have to do to be able to get a fair understanding of the overall topic, right? Not that you need to keep shifting the goalposts, but like if I want to understand if a character in One Piece is Lightspeed, it's not going to be enough for me to read that one character said the phrase Lightspeed. I need to understand, okay, if a character is Lightspeed in chapter 300, right, does that make sense with what we see in chapter 200, chapter 500, chapter 1000, right? Like, is that scaling actually consistent with other feats and anti-feats? For example, like, if Luffy then consistently gets hit by Mach 1 speed cannonballs later on in the series, well, that would make it weird for him to have been light speed before unless he got, like, massively nerfed. So how do we evaluate that? To me, like, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to make a scaling video on One Piece, really, before I read the whole series at least once, because I think I would need to understand that full context. What I do want to try to do, though, is examine the individual arguments and see if they hold up internally. But for me to take a stance like I do with Naruto, like I feel like I had to read Naruto like 3 or 4 times, let alone the data books, to really start to have an opinion on some of this stuff, right? It's just it's so dense. Anyway, data books also use several kanji, says Dr. Strangle, that mean things similar to blow away the universe. Having a phrasing doesn't credibility to them as a whole, individual statements. Yep, you're preaching to the choir here. The whole like data book hyperbolic phrasing, which by the way we will get back to. We'll get back to, I think, maybe next week. Ursa says, I'm not claiming that One Piece is light speed. I'm saying that they're faster than lightning, given Luffy kicks away lightning bolts from NL and gets faster over the series up until Kizaru. Yeah, that's one thing that Eon brought up as well, is that, like, apparently there's a comment from the creator saying that, like, I think it was the slow so beam, but I don't remember. It was in the SBS, is that what it's called? And I think the comment was, like, the interviewer was asking how would somebody get around this attack? And the Oda said the way that they would have to do it would be to dodge at the speed of light and then counter with a punch or something like that, right? And then apparently that's what Luffy does on panel. He dodges and then he counters with a punch. And so people were like, look, it literally says speed of light. And I was like, okay, well, what is the context of this comment? Is it meant to be taken tongue-in-cheek? Is it meant to be taken in a sort of joking way? Like, is this an official authoritative thing? Like, what's the context of this conversation? And people got so fucking pissed. They were like, I can't believe you would, like people were, like, really upset with me for asking that question. They were like, I can't believe you would be, like, the lengths that you'll go to deny the fact that Luffy is light speed, the mental gymnastics. People will do everything in their power to just deny that Luffy's light speed. It's like, motherfuckers, I don't have any horse in this race whatsoever. I just want to understand. To me, like, people can make offhanded comments in fucking interviews and joke around. I mean, it literally has them going ha 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 ha, right? So, like, can people not fucking have a joke without their statements being interpreted hyper literally and used as part of this argumentation? Is that really what that statement was meant for? And, like, I can't ask that question or else I'm quote unquote despicable. I'm despicable. I've gotten a new a new fucking title, John the Despicable Maven, for asking about about that feat. Whatever. Ryoman says, my point is that if the thing repeats itself so much and there's a specific pattern, you can argue higher probability from some perspective. Sure. And to your point, right? Like, if there's one thing that stands out, that thing could be an outlier. If there's two things, it could be a coincidence. If there's three things, it might be like a really weird coincidence. But 4, 5, 6, all of a sudden, pretty soon you have to be like, okay, this is not a coincidence. This has to be a pattern, right? Like, that's the intuitive response to it. And I think there's some validity to that. I think that, like, after a certain point, it makes sense to say this is worthy of investigation. Maybe it's leaning in a certain way. Aim dodging requires you to get out of the way of the line of fire, but doing that requires speed in and of itself. If the shot resolves instantly, you don't have... Oh, yeah, I mean, like, if it's an instant transmission type thing, like, that's the way projectiles work in video games, right? Instant trace. There's basically two ways that projectiles are spawned in, like, shooting games. One is that when you press the button, an invisible line is drawn between the tip of your, like, the barrel of your gun and whatever the first object is that it intersects with, and then basically that object is has a function like on took damage or something, and it just like procs that function. The other one is to spawn a projectile, like an actual physical thing with collision in the game world, and then have it physically travel to another location. I was actually just working on, had this issue with a bug recently where we wanted to attach a sound to a projectile that was fired out of a weapon so that we could hear the sound of the projectile like whizzing past you, like going, you know, like that sort of thing, to use a scientific term. But the projectile was traveling so fast, because it was like a sniper rifle basically. It was traveling so fast that like the audio engine couldn't pick up the location of the projectile fast enough to be able to attach a sound to it before it got out of range, so that the sound was never actually being put on the projectile. So basically, even though it was spawning a projectile and the projectile was traveling, the game engine thought it was instant trace because of how fast it was. It's a little, like, game dev is so fucking frustrating but so fucking fun for those reasons, like these bizarre little contradictory problems you have to solve. But yeah, for example, Kizaru almost never uses his full speed. Am I saying that right? Is it Kizaru or Kizaru? You just need to be faster than the person shooting when you want to aim dodge. Yeah, you have to be, I mean, and to your point also, somebody can be vastly slower than you and have terrible aim, but also just get lucky, right? So like, if you're spraying, like, somebody takes like an Uzi or something and just like holds down the trigger and like waves their arm around, they might hit like a plane, but not hit you. But that doesn't mean that you are faster than the plane that they hit flying overhead or something, right? Like, there's a lot of little details and particularities that you have to keep in mind with stuff like this, which I'm sure we all understand perfectly well. It's just when it gets into this competitive arena that things get a little crazy. Not in a derogatory sense. It just get kind of silly. Um, Not logical, a bunch of meaningless statements. These meaningless is power scaling problem. I think, to be fair, Ursa, like you and I are in agreement about this, but I'm also just kind of saying that, like, if you start to notice a pattern, then um, that has a certain compelling quality to it, if that makes sense. And I can sympathize with that. But then if you wind up like, you know, this is the night of terrible analogies, but like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and if every link in a chain is just like paper thin when you look at it up close, then the fact that there are a lot of things that look like links in one place doesn't mean it's actually a chain, right? It's just like it all kind of crumbles apart when you pull on it, then it doesn't make a very good chain. But if there are a bunch of things all kind of put together that look like a chain, it's worth taking a look at. I don't know if that made any fucking sense, but I'm trying. I'm trying. Let's see. I'm gonna try and focus and catch up. How about no says I'm literally telling you the literal definition of the term is that you're moving outside the line of fire before the projectile is fired. It can be infinite speed and it wouldn't matter. Yeah, yeah. Like I think I get where you're coming from too. I'm not sure. Like hopefully you guys are able to reconcile there, but I think I sympathize with both of your perspectives. Um, Michael says to give my current thoughts on OP scaling, at least two calcs I've done so far can get to multi-continental DC, though I prefer to refine for accuracy, and I think they do scale the FVO. Yeah, that's totally fine. So, oh, then you said later on from initially dodging lasers with relativistic reaction speed to upscaling your perception blitz. So yeah, do you know the feat that I was talking about with the Don Chin Chow breaking the continent of ice? That was kind of what sparked my interest in One Piece scaling. Is like talking to Eon about whether or not that counts as a continental feat. So without me giving you any other context, I'm just curious what your knee jerk reaction is. Do you think that Don Chinchao is continental because he split the continent of ice? Period. What's your reaction to that in and of itself? Um, if it can't hit you, you're not in the way of its line of fire. You're looking for a different term. That's my contention. So yeah, not to muddy the waters. I thought aim dodging was kind of like you see a projectile coming towards you, you can perceive it, and then since you can predict its trajectory based on your current location, you incorporate that into um your plan of action and you move away from it. But I don't know. I feel like I'm just making things more complicated. Let me shut up and let you guys resolve this. Um, can't hit you. Kizaru is light speed. No one scales to him, and every monthly continental calc for One Piece is very flawed. Interesting. But you, Ryoman, how high do you scale Naruto again? Can you remind me? Michael Dorsey says from initial, yeah, yeah. Those lasers are confirmed to be slower than light speed. Yeah, that's a very important bit of context there. Dodging with a move in any way relative to something in order to evade its dodging. Most of the islands, OP scalers have at 600 km, usually not even 2 kilometers. Well, I've also heard that the One Piece universe the One Piece planet is like way, way, way bigger than ours is. Like it's apparently fucking massive, but I don't know. Michael says, I'm willing to entertain with triple AP scaling that they don't have to be light speed, but where the laser is being slower than light. Yeah, I would love to know, like, one way or another. I don't have a stake in One Piece characters being uh, faster or slower than light or whatever, but I would love to know, is there any additional information that the series gives us about the speed of, like the mechanics of how these beams work? The pacifista beams. Gonna drink tea. Oh yeah, yeah, awesome. I'm glad you got a chance to spend time with your girlfriend Shinigami. I'm still catching up, so if I haven't already said so, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Um, Intelligence scaling. We're not really talking about intelligence tonight, but if you have questions, I'm always happy to talk about it. Any opinions on statements I got for some sort of way to claim that Genjutsu needs intelligence to use? More so in the kind of I need to visualize the illusion to create. Yeah, so that's an interesting idea. I think that a lot of genjutsu probably do rely on intelligence and ingenuity. I think, but it kind of depends, right? Because one of the more powerful genjutsu that we ever see is Frog Song, and Ma and Pa. I don't know that they necessarily are super brilliant. Even if they are, I don't think they're necessarily doing anything particularly brilliant with that technique. I think that this particular, like, I'm not even 100% sure how it works. There is either like a pocket dimension, a barrier dimension, or some other sealed like subspace with the cube and the cube of water and the frogs like kind of sealing them, or that's entirely illusory and it's just like a hallucination brought on by the song. Either way, I don't know that like Shima and Fukasaku like sat down and artfully designed this space like a video game level in order to put it together. And once they deploy it, I don't think they have to really do anything super smart to maintain the space. In the same way that like, you know, that's another example. Chains of Fantasia. Tayuya, I mean, I guess we could look at her stats in the data books. I don't think she's portrayed as being very intelligent. Um, she has certain types of intelligence, like musical intelligence, sure, but I don't know, like, tactically if she's a rival to Shikamaru. Um, but, yeah, so does she, like, have to mentally think about and craft and design and micromanage this alternate reality, so to speak, of the Chains of Fantasia? Or does her genjutsu just kind of make people see that thing? So it's already kind of like pre-designed for her. I don't know. I'm more inclined to believe that it's just kind of automatic. Like Chains of Fantasia makes you see this particular thing. I don't know that she has to get crazy with the design. I do like the idea that like genjutsu owners basically get like a blank canvas to design whatever basic genjutsu horror map they want to, because otherwise, like, why does Chains of Fantasia's realm look like it does? I think somebody had to decide, like the creator of the jutsu or whatever had to decide that that's what the opponent was going to see. Um, but yeah, that's a whole. Well, we can get into that when we start talking about like genjutsu stuff later. Let's see. Michael says I can buy that they're slower than Kizaru's light can be, but since Kizaru doesn't cap at light speed, then the pacifista lasers don't have to be slower than light. Interesting. Yeah, I like how you're kind of putting together like those disparate elements there. That makes sense. That's what I was talking about like having more context for everything. Luffy dodged pacifista beams right after that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna need to look into this pacifista beam stuff for sure. I appreciate you guys bringing that stuff up. Damn, I am way behind. I'm sorry. Started to scan in the server that I'm referencing. Okay, I'll check that out. Blitzings. Yeah. So like the blitz feat Ryomen about struggling with sound attacks, that would be really relevant. Like just putting together the cluster of different feats from different parts of the series and making sure that like looking for that consistency, I think that would be very important. Ultra Instinct says, I just like asking that I mostly do Naruto and Sonic scaling. Oh, Sonic scaling, that's really cool. That was the first question I was asked about Naruto. Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I'm intuitively, I'm gonna kind of say that I think, funny enough, I feel like Sonic probably clears most of the Naruto universe, um, because especially in like the comics and stuff, he has some really crazy feats like with the power rings and stuff, right? So feel free to elaborate that on you if you like. Like, how far into Naruto do you think Sonic gets? You can pick whatever version or like a composite if you want. How about no says whatever time frame you assume, just take the value and divide by the number of seconds. Oh yeah, I feel you. I think I see what you're saying. Cool. We think he's already didn't simply accelerate to light speed. The topic. What's the topic? Shinigami. The topic is just like yeah, like Roman said, is One Piece FTL or not, and specifically like looking for individual feats to discuss. So one of the key takeaways I'm getting out of this that I need to research for next time is the pacifista lasers and Kizaru. In terms of evidence for like between the big three, Bleach equals One Piece over Naruto. That's kind of the consensus that I get. But then, or sorry, I feel like that is what people tend to say, right? Like Naruto is kind of on the lower end, but with Dragon Ball being above Bleach and One Piece as well, right? Light speed doesn't accelerate from 0 to its top speed from its creation. It's just automatically light speed. Yeah, since acceleration is involved in after Kizaru was fully turned into light, leads you to believe that he started at light speed and got faster beyond that, especially since he was doing this against Snake Man Luffy versus using a light speed. Yeah, that's interesting because acceleration, I think that's something you have to consider also about. I'm losing my train of thought. But just like, yeah, if you accelerate to the speed of light from like if you go from 0 to the speed of light over the course of 10 seconds, the amount of force that's being placed on your body is massive. It's astronomical. Now granted, also, if you are like practically traveling at the speed of light, right, um if you're traveling in any kind of atmosphere, the amount of pressure of just friction between like the molecules in the air rubbing up against your skin is going to be like an insane amount of energy that you are generating through that interaction, right? Just in terms of like the basic physics of it. Um, but and so any character who can travel at the speed of light needs to be able to, if their verse, if the verse is actually going to account for the implications of speed of light travel, it is implying that any character who can travel that speed is has extremely high base durability, like extremely high, highly above a base human's durability, because surviving any amount of travel at the speed of light in an atmosphere will put such enormous pressure on the exterior of your body that you have to have extremely high durability. And also, for your interior organs and stuff like that. And this is why like ethereal transfer is so dangerous. This is why I think um like this is one of the strongest arguments I think against Lightspeed and Naruto, is that we are very clearly, very explicitly told multiple times early on in the series that you cannot reinforce your internal organs. And if you travel at the speed of light, the amount of force that is going to be applied to like your heart and your liver and your kidneys and stuff, which I don't know, maybe the heart can kind of be reinforced, but like not your fucking spleen, right? Not your fucking gallbladder or your lungs or whatever. Like that shit is just gonna get obliterated if you apply that rapid acceleration deceleration to it. So this is why I say that I start off from a position of high skepticism about anything related to light speed in any verse, because if an author is going to actually try to provide some kind of consistent power scaling rubrics, uh, standards, or whatever, and they're going to introduce something like light speed, there's a lot to think about. Even if you're not a fucking physicist, you don't understand, like, I barely understand some of these physics concepts. I think people like Sorry are probably going to cringe when I talk about this shit. But at the same time, like, there has to be like a total apathy towards it if you put a character in a verse like Naruto, make him move at light speed, and then don't mention stuff like that at all. Shinigami says Abstract. Oh, hey, Abstract. Hey, dude. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Abstract says, hey, John and friends, just dropping by to say hi. I see 9 viewers and 6 likes on the stream. Like and share the stream. Thank you so much, dude. I always really appreciate the boost. You've been so gracious with the feedback and everything. I gave you a shout out as well, quid pro quo, earlier in the stream. Yeah, I'd be curious. I saw that Sage put out this video. Somebody in Discord mentioned it about Genjutsu working crossverse, and you and I have talked about crossverse Genjutsu stuff, right? And I think you were talking about that on stream recently. You were part of the wave of this topic kind of picking up momentum, right? So I'd love to know if you have any thoughts on it. If you have done or will be doing a stream on the subject, I'll be more than happy to stop by. I might have missed you over the past week or two because I've been so crunchy at work and stuff, and kind of like unhealthy with my sleep schedule and shit, but I'm getting back to normal, and so if there's anything I gotta catch up on, I'd be more than happy to. Hope you're doing well, brother. I appreciate you saying hello. Let's see. Anyone who can't admit the SBS are tongue-in-cheek are not honest or has not read them. That's what I thought, Dr. Strangle. Like, I saw that one page, and people were taking it, like, well, frankly, like a data book page, and I was like, I don't know about this. Okay. Dodging Pacifista Beam, still catching up over here. Oh, I see a tag from you, Michael. In Kuma's flashback, Vegapunk, that's a cool fucking name, says that he dreamed of making soldiers who could weaponize electromagnetic energy in reference to Pacifista, who said lasers being modeled after Kizaru's light devil fruit powers, which Kizaru refers to as light speed as a base. Okay, gotcha. So I'm going to write that down as well. Kuma, Vegapunk. So this is adding a lot more context. I actually really appreciate it. Right? I actually really appreciate this. Thank you. Only shown that he's able to blitzkrieg who's a struggle with sound attacks. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before. I'm gonna skim through some of this stuff. If I missed anything, I genuinely appreciate all the messages. I think I'm missing some stuff here. So if you want me to, if I miss something, feel free to like repeat the message and just tag me and I'll get to it. No contradictions to Lightspeed Naruto statement. Bleach isn't even above lightning state, bro. Okay. Well, Ryoman, before I get into it with you, you're well aware of my stance on Lightspeed Naruto stuff, or you've heard my arguments. I don't want to like jump down your throat right away, but obviously, like I very strongly disagree with your perspective on that. If you want to talk about it in detail, I'd be more than happy to. I just want to make sure like I don't wind up jumping at you with like like a fucking Jehovah's Witness knocking at your door, being like, "Have you heard the gospel of my anti-data book rhetoric? Hello, do you have time to talk about how I don't like the data books?" But we can go from there if you want. Michael Dorsey says, light doesn't accelerate. Oh yeah, we talked about the acceleration. The guy says it's a mistranslation. Oh, Ultra Instinct says, I'd say speed is the worst done category in One Piece. You got characters that blitz characters that are light speed just to get hit by hypersonic attacks. Yeah, well that's the thing, right? It's like, it could also be that the verse is just inconsistent. I don't know. It might be. It might be the case that like, I kind of think that authors have the right to do whatever the fuck they want with their story, and it's great if they achieve some sort of a consistency. It makes it more fun and easier for us as scalers to talk about the shit, but also they're under no obligation to do that, right? They can choose to accentuate any given moment and depict a character as strong as they need to be in that moment, and then change that around. Like, okay, I'm about to trigger the Marvel fans in the audience, but I mean, like, let me use this as an example. Thor in the movies, like, he tanked the energy from a sun, right? From a star, right? So if he can take the energy from a star, but somebody manages to stab him with a sword, does the sword necessarily have to be stronger than the star in order to damage him? Or is it just that, like, could it also be that there's a scene in which the show writer or whatever thought it would be really cool if he could get stabbed by a sword, and they decided to just make that sword, like, have him have that anti-feat? Or like, doesn't like Thanos strangle him at one point? Are Thanos's hands stronger than the energy output of a sun? Like, I don't know, maybe. Or maybe there's just something kind of wonky with the rules of how that sun works, and I don't know. Maybe the rules are inconsistent. Maybe it's just like, the fun is the name of the game, and they'll just like put making an individual scene as cool as possible over maintaining a strict rubric of power scaling standards. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying. I'm still waiting for Naruto not to have anti-feats to contradict the light speed statements. Keyword statements, not feats. Yeah, I'm with you. Naruto has no actual light speed feats. I agree. No contradiction to light speed. Oh yeah, I see. Oh, I kind of like jumped into the middle of your conversation there. My bad. Just accepted the Kieran Lightspeed statement because fuck it, why not? Then I use this as a statement. Yeah, don't fall for the Kieran Lightspeed agenda. I can help you out of that if you're still stuck with that. Not that sounded kind of condescending. I didn't mean it to be. It's just like fucking. I feel like people peddle that scan of Kieran being quote unquote the speed of light around and pass it off as like factual without any fucking context, and it's become such a meme, and it's so annoying, and like I would be more than happy to help break it down with you. Although if you've seen my like Kieran video, like hopefully that explains it. Opie says Lightspeed characters, god tiers like Kaido. Yeah, I'm definitely open to that possibility. Like can move from cloud to ground in a microsecond. You mean lightning? If Kieran is Lightspeed in millisecond. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. Just proves like Naruto is slower. I think it's just like people don't. They want to find like any reason to discredit Sasuke saying this is literal lightning, that I'm barely budging with my chakra for whatever reason. Oh, I just got a notification from Sleep Paralysis Demon. Welcome to the chat, Sleep Paralysis Demon. Hope you're having a good night. There's a thing called piercing durability, and in most versus blades and sharp objects worth differently than blunt attacks anyway. Yes, 100%. It's actually like really weird to me that sometimes in debates people will get like very like Noodles, if you're familiar with him as a debater. He gets like really upset when people try to draw a distinction between piercing damage and bludgeoning damage. But this is something that's like a big part of a lot of different verses, like video game versus, like everything, right? And also just like fucking physics. Like I think I brought this up before, but you could take a hand. Please don't do this at home. or at all. But like if you take a hammer and you can hit yourself pretty hard with a hammer on like your like the meat of your leg or something like that, and you might not even get a visible bruise. But then you take a little needle and you push very gently with the needle with a tiny fraction of the amount of force that you put into like bopping yourself with a hammer. Again, don't do this. And then you pull the needle out and it draws blood. So does that mean that the needle is more powerful than the hammer? No, I mean, it's just like the way that the object you were using interacted with the target you were using it against varies, and the effect on the target is going to be determined by a variety of different things, right? Another example, Kevlar, right? Kevlar is often used in bulletproof vests, very effective at stopping a bullet, not really effective at stopping knives. I don't know the science behind it, but it is apparently better at stopping bullets than knives. It is bulletproof, not necessarily knife proof. Now, obviously, having fucking armor is going to help you one way or another, but it's not really designed for that. It's designed to like absorb and dissipate and spread out the impact of the projectile, as opposed to being able to resist a puncture in a small location, right? So, yeah. Um, Obviously, I'm not a physicist, but like hopefully some of that made sense. Naruto's catching up, catching up. Rocks get mega outsped by cannonballs. One Piece has one light speed characters. Oh yeah, the god tiers and stuff. Nobody skills to Kizaru. So is Kizaru like the big bad of the verse? Is like the strongest character in the verse or something? The perception bliss leads you from kilometers. Okay, yeah, maybe. Kizaru's regular speed with Luffy already scales to. Okay, I like this discussion you guys have got going. I'm probably gonna like reread the chat after the stream to see if I can learn more. I appreciate it genuinely. Roman says, I'm not sure if I'd skill anyone except Haku to Lightspeed and Naruto. At best, I'd say, oh, okay. Wait. I think, I'm sorry then. I think I may misunderstood what you were saying before. I thought you were saying that you did think that a lot of characters in Naruto were Lightspeed. So sorry if I misunderstood you. Really, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Yeah, that's the thing with Haku is like, I think it's fine if you want to say that Haku can like move in between his mirrors. Like if he is in mirror 1 and he wants to be in mirror 7 and then he wants to be in mirror 3, he can go from 1 to 7 to 3 at the speed of light, and that's fine, but he can't do that in any sort of way that implies him interacting with any other character. If he dashes out of the mirror and throws a senbon, or slashes with a senbon, or dashes out and punches and kicks or whatever, well, that's different because he's not just moving between the mirrors. That's my personal interpretation anyway. Dying Itachi can't move out of the way of Kirin. I think you are probably correct, but I think that also if you're gonna make an argument about aim dodging, the thing is that Itachi should be able to benefit from like the kinetic vision of the Sharingan as well. So he doesn't have to dodge the lightning bolt itself. He just has to be able to predict when Sasuke's hand is going to be in the position for the lightning bolt to be quote unquote released. So he has to react to Sasuke's hand, not the lightning bolt, if that makes sense. So I'm not trying to fight you about that, but I think, there's a little bit of a nuance there. Okay, Saria says, you said this so long ago, but I've been typing for a while now. It's just a response to how these things affect world building, and I think it's sometimes they really just do want to do cool shit. Yeah, absolutely. I'll use Saint Seiya as an example. When we're introduced to Gold Saints, we're told they can only move at the speed of light, but then Shiryu defeated Death Mask, yet these fellas still are running to beat the clock to save Athena. Or Dragon Ball again as an example, with Trunks going to get his grandparents in Dragon Radar. 1 second. Unless Goku and Boo's interactions were only milliseconds long and even Babidi could keep it up, that doesn't make a ton of sense, but these things happen for the drama of the story. Yeah, exactly. Like, when you think about how far and how fast people can travel at the speed of light, it's insane, right? So, genuinely have to wonder, like, to what extent any given character any given, like, creators are taking it super realistically or hyper literally, or if they're just, like, playing, like, loose and fast with it. Let's see, like how in Elden Ring, the lore is like, here are these abilities that move at the speed of light. Does it look that way now because gameplay dictates that we need to be able to dodge it? I'm curious, do you remember? Oh, you mean like the ones in the DLC with like that sword that's like the dragon stone or whatever that has like the light like dash or whatever? Yeah. I'd be curious if you have any other like Elden Ring Lightspeed thoughts. Although, like with the time manipulation stuff in Farum Azula, there might be some weird Lightspeed things happening there. I mean, light as a mechanic is actually something that's explored pretty intensely in like Dark Souls 3, for example. You got Ocarina of Wind. When I got the Ocarina of Wind, Eslo was explaining if we play it, how a bird will pick Link up and instantly take him where he needs to go. He follows up by saying, "Look, lad, don't think about it so hard. It'll make your head hurt. Just try it." And I think that's kind of just the philosophy of a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that in a previous stream. I remember you saying that. That's cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate that context there. So, like, in fucking Saint Seiya, is it like very explicit, like characters can actually move at the speed of light? And if so, is it like a boost movement travel speed thing, or is it actually like can they fight? Can they throw hands at the speed of light? Stuff like that. How about no says it's not actually my 500. There was a mistranslation. It meant the speed of the clap, not sound. Made in Japanese. Oh, okay. It repeats it, then hypes it up. Okay, cool. Dr. Strangle says anyone who can emit the speed. Yeah, that tongue in cheek. Shinigami says, keep in mind to satisfy John, the Mach 500 statement is said by Deceptive Guy. Okay, well, there we go. It's Mach 500. Ichigo would have no reason to be scared. Well, okay, so now we're in Bleach territory. I will defer to you guys on that as well. But yeah, obviously, like, take the character's credibility into account. Get Dave's statement. Ryoman says, I think Naruto characters are massively hypersonic plus or sub-relativistic at the moment, with body flicker, touches, relativistic ranges, Haku's light speed. Maybe I'll upscale talk. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know how I got to such a different interpretation of what you said. I appreciate you clarifying that. How about No says there's one statement they use for the river 50 kilometers wide. They kind of warp everything around that. If you want to go there, I think it's fine. Just be consistent. Yeah, that's true. Onigashima in One Piece is kind of confirmed to be smaller than 1 kilometer. Yet people calculate hundreds of thousands. Oh my god. Okay, so how do they like? I genuinely want to understand. How do they get such disparate data? Like how are people looking at that? And one group of people are saying it's 1 kilometer, and another or 50 kilometers. Sorry, I'm getting lost here. Ryoman was saying, how do some people look at the shit and say 1 kilometer, and other people say hundreds of thousands? That's such a massive gulf in a difference of understanding. How can you explain that to me? Can you explain like how do people get to such disparate views on the ship? Let's see. I think it could be that small, but given its size compared to the Sunny, it could be several kilometers wide. Oh, okay, so it's like there are multiple objects of indeterminate scale, and depending on how you scale one, that affects the other. That would be interesting. The argument is mainly focused on Itachi since Tsukuyomi, especially since in Clyde's Aizen versus Itachi video where Noodles collabed. Noodles made the case for it. Okay, well, if he's making the case for it, probably best to just leave that alone. Good statement is, oh yeah, I saw somebody posted, I forget who it was, but thank you for sharing it, that Noodles did like a TikTok recently. I got a couple minutes into it. I haven't finished it, but he was responding to somebody else's take, and it's like, okay, well, it's cool to see that he's still making things that aren't just like about WCF or whatever UCF fucking drama or whatever the hell he's doing these days. Let's see. We don't have Gin's full speed to do the wording. Clap is heavily highlighted. End of the sentence. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously taking into account, like, the hype and, like, the perspectives of characters, whether or not they're honest and biased or whatever, that's very important. Will Ashrak be happy to know Sage prove that Genjutsu is limited in verse even more? I don't know. I imagine he'll have a spicy take about that, and I'm totally here for it. Dr. Strangle says Kizaru basically shots a light beam that blends himself to the beam that blends himself into the beam, and then as the beam is still traveling, he accelerates in the beam like it's a pipe, and he's a Looney Tunes. Oh, interesting. That's kind of cool. Like that. Ryoman says, I don't think it has any contradictions. I just think he put in skepticism effectively. That's interesting. Okay, I guess I don't really understand what you mean by contradicted, because when you say contradiction, I interpret that as like there is a piece of evidence that is as reasonable but says the opposite, right? Like it's something that presents a mutually exclusive explanation of what happened. You know, if I got hit by if somebody runs out into the street and gets hit by something, and we run out after and we say we find them injured, and like I say I think that person just got hit by a runaway bull from a local farm, and you say I think he got hit by a car, right? Those are two contradictory statements, unless the car is like a Taurus, right? So but yeah, hopefully I feel like this is going to be like the compilation of John's worst analogies stream. The quality of my analogies is directly proportional to the quality of my sleep, so I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let's see. Oh, you guys found an agreement. That's so lovely. Mentioning MCU. Yeah, I actually do like a lot of the MCU stuff, believe it or not. Vegapunk statement is in chapter 1099. Okay. We might just look at that in a second. Multi-city block calculations for Thor surviving that. Energy output is statistically quite low. Yeah, because it's like a dying or like a dead star or something, right? So it wouldn't necessarily be the same. Oh, I'm so tired. Guy says, I didn't fall for the Kieran Lightspeed's agenda because holy shit, Lightspeed Naruto has near infinite contradictions. Well, that's the thing, yeah. I think that the arguments themselves, at the very least, have contradictions. Just said, fuck it, why not? Just accept it in the Zetsu time frame. I see what you're saying. Okay. Holy crap, the fact that people don't realize it is insane. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to some idiot and they are so stubborn on being wrong. I think it's just like... Okay, so... I think I mentioned last time that Sage and I have been talking in DMs. I don't think it would make any sense for me to share the specifics of our conversation because it's DMs, right? It would be kind of inappropriate for me to do that without his permission. But so I won't do that. Probably if we have a debate or if we like go on stream at some point, we'll wind up talking about it anyway. What I will say though is that from my own personal subjective interpretation, I think that there is a trend that I don't think is Sage's fault, and I don't think it's anybody's fault per se, but I think that it might be like the fault of the American education system or something like that, or just like, I don't know, I don't even know what to call it, but there is a trend about the way that people approach argumentation and approach defending positions, where we kind of talked about this like an hour ago or so, right? But it's like, okay, I want to defend, like, I think that I know that something is true, and I want to confirm it. So how will I go about confirming it? Well, I go and find a piece of evidence, then I defend that piece of evidence as best I can, and then I think about how other people might dispute my piece of evidence, and then I figure out how to debunk what they are going to say. I know that I use this example a lot, but like, Herman Melville in Moby Dick, if I remember correctly, was convinced that fucking whales are fish, and he like spends multiple paragraphs explaining why whales are actually fish. They're not fish, but he did his best, right? But let's say I like the idea that a whale is a fish. I can construct the argument and say that, like, okay, a fish is defined as an aquatic animal, usually with fins, lives in the water, eats other fish, and has a sleek body and no fur. So there you go. This is a whale. Look, it's got a sleek body, it's got fins, it lives in the water, it eats other aquatic things. No hair. Therefore, oh, it's a vertebrate too. Okay. Therefore, it fits the definition that I provided of a fish. Therefore, it's a fish. And I know what you're going to try and say like, oh, it's a mammal. Well, mammals produce milk. Do you see any milk coming out of the fucking fish? No, I didn't think so. I don't see any milk either. Have you ever milked a whale? Do you drink whale milk, motherfucker? No, I didn't think so. Okay, so I'll put the burden of proof on you. You bring me a pint of whale milk, and then I'll agree it's a mammal. You can't do that, then I win, right? It's like a combination of apologetics in favor of a particular position, sculpting the conversation, and then trying to lead the conversation in a specific way, anticipating what your opponent will do. Now that is fun, I guess, if you're into the competition side of things, but just understand that like doesn't work in science. That doesn't work in any kind of actual applied research methodology. That doesn't actually get you to an understanding of anything, because you are literally working against understanding the thing in favor of, like, how do you say it? Like, and I'm not saying this to Sage specifically either, like, just going back and forth in our conversation, I realize that I think that there is this thing that is happening in general in the community, right? It's just like, we've seen it in Noodle's video, we've seen it in Key's video, we've seen it in fucking some of the stuff we talked about with Seth back in the day. Just like, even this conversation that I had with fucking, what's his name? Eon. Like, not to slander Eon either, but I think it's the same thing, right? It's just like this community meta that really, I think, is sort of antithetical to genuinely understanding shit, and it's so frustrating because it's like, I don't understand how things escalate so quickly and get so like stuck in the weeds. If that makes any sense. Anyway, fuck, I'm so behind on chat. Um, let's see. Shinigami says, "Oh yeah, sleep paralysis demon." Yeah, we talked about that. I love that name, by the way. What is that? What is that profile picture? Sleep paralysis demon. Is that is that actually your sleep paralysis demon? Let's see. Piercing doesn't magically bypass durability. That's true, but it will. Oh yeah. How about no says work differently is incorrect. Works the same. It's just a matter of scale, smaller area, higher pressure. You can pierce someone with a hammer if you swing fast enough. That's very true. That's very true. I probably used an inelegant phrasing, but just to indicate that like you can accomplish the same. You can accomplish quote unquote more damage if you define more damage by the ability to draw blood, for example, with a much smaller and more fragile, delicate tool with much less pressure, right? So it's not just about the force behind the thing, the shape of the thing, and the way in which the force is distributed actually makes a huge difference. Now, it might actually be the case that like if you take the same like surface area of the hammer, that the hammer might technically be conveying less force in that same area as the needle in its corresponding area, if that makes sense. I'm not sure, but I think you're right. It's like physics doesn't work differently for for different objects, like mundane objects like that, right? So yeah, I appreciate the clarification there. Dr. Strang says Oda said in his initial story format was based off of JRPGs. Oh, that's cool. We just see over and over again that early One Piece treats pricing and slash damage, piercing and slash damage like damage types. Yeah, doesn't Luffy have like a particular vulnerability to stabbing or piercing damage or something like that? I heard that that's like one of the weaknesses of the Gum Gum fruit, but I don't know for sure. Kizaru is not necessarily the strongest in the verse, but it's just that no one is able to reach him. Okay, gotcha. His one punch is true speedster. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I'll look into him a little bit more too. Kizaru, more research topic. Ultra Instinct Shadow says, me when I died was stabbed to a small child. I'm now a toddler victim, baby level durability. Yeah, exactly. You know, like fucking Mike Tyson could technically die to a baby with a sharp stick. Therefore, babies beat Mike Tyson categorically. Mike Tyson is sub baby level. Think you can unironically argue Kizaru beating almost anyone. Okay. Literally, 0 statements of Kizaru being the fastest. I'll have to look into that. Michael Dorsey says Kizaru is not the strongest character. He can achieve the highest speed if he gives himself enough distance to accelerate. Are there any implications in the verse that being able to travel that fast comes with prerequisite levels of durability? Like I was saying before about being able to withstand the G-force or something. Is that what okay, one second. I'm getting distracted because I have the 2 fucking chat windows open. Let me just interject real quick with Ryomen and Shinigami. Try to keep it relatively calm if you guys can. I understand things can get heated, but like, just try to keep it friendly. The one thing I'll say, a syllogism is just it's not a made up word. It's the basic form of it's like a deductive argument, right? A syllogism is like if all cars are blue, this is a car, therefore this is blue. If A then B, B is C, therefore A is C. That's a syllogism. Of course, it doesn't have to just be 2 or 3 things. It's like it's basically a series of statements that then lead to a given conclusion, right? Like I don't know. Carl is a beaver. Beavers have large teeth, and large teeth on beavers can be used to chew down trees. Therefore, Carl can chew down trees. That's also a syllogism. In order for a syllogism to be valid, each individual part of the syllogism, each premise has to be true. It's just a connecting chain of premises intended to establish the proposition. Hopefully that made some sense. Admirals are fodder. I can smell the rage bait. Kizaru's not the strongest character, or not to dismiss you, Dr. Strangle. You might be 100% correct. I just I can see the wave of hate coming. Ryomen says not only that, the same exact statement that calls him the fastest admiral also hypes him up. Okay, so we're starting to see some consistency here. Ultra Instinct Shadow says, to be honest, Itachi couldn't see anything by the time Sasuke pulled that move out. Well, I don't know. It's a fair point to dispute that, but I do think that how do you say? if he gets that little future predictive image where like the hand, he can kind of see where Sasuke's hand is going to be and like where it's going to stop. I think he could actually use predictive vision there. I just saw Saria says you gotta go because you really need to finish your homework. Oh shit! You're in the Côte d'Azur or Alpes Côte d'Azur. Oh, sorry, it's very beautiful. So you missed it. That's so fucking cool. I'm so jealous, dude. Yeah, please don't be on the internet. Be in France. Go get some sleep. Enjoy France. These streams will be here when you get back. I'm so glad that you're having a chance to do that. I hope you're doing well, and good luck with everything. Can't wait to see the video when it comes out. Take care. Um, let's see. Kizaru doesn't do anything similar to statements. Fastest man alive. Oh, Barry Allen. Shinigami says, reminder, John Ginn, the character used for Mach 500, is such a deceptive character. Yeah, I would be happy to hear you elaborate on that if you want, but I think you're right? Like, you're right in that we have to understand the same thing with fucking Zetsu, right? Like, we have to understand the context of the knowledge and the perspective of the characters who are saying things. Just because a person said a thing doesn't mean the thing is true. So, and understanding in context. Note to self, that one bit about satire, hundreds of thousands of km, because the one who did it as a joke. Oh, yeah, I would be happy to hear you talk some more about satire. I'm assuming you mean the literary device, not the... Yeah. Let's just go with that. Saria says, it is very explicit Golden Saints are supposed to be the only Saints who can move and fight at the speed of light, but the rules tend to bend. We do have an in-universe reason for that plot armor, though. Miracles, basically just in-universe plot armor that says a character can do what they have to when they need to. Oh, that's perfect. Like, that's enough, right? Like, the fact that the creators are throwing us a bone at all to basically be like, hey, yep, this is how this works. That's great. That's all it takes. It's probably more than faster. What do you think? This wasn't as fast as I said means. It's actually much faster than he said. Go ahead and debunk it with 0 difficulty. Premise 1. Gin says it isn't as fast. The definition would be... Okay, maybe do it in DMs and Discord. Oh, yeah, shit. If you guys... Yeah, I honestly probably... Let me see. I'm just scanning through this. Yeah, okay. So... You conceded... methods. I don't really want to get in the argument between the two of you, like if you guys are having fun with this, but yeah, I think at this point, like, feel free to continue the conversation in fucking in the text debates section of the Discord if you want to. I lucky wasn't expecting this argument to be chill. Usually I would see more slurs and insults. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like, this, honestly, like, folks in this community, like, I'm super grateful. Like, I understand we talk about things that are, like, inspiring passions, and people have, like, very strong convictions about things, and, you know, tempers can get heated. I'm not going to be the fun police and say nobody can ever raise their voice or whatever, but at the same time, like, it's very important to me that, like, people feel included and not berated in this community. So yeah, we're not going to do slurs, we're not going to do, like, personal insults or anything like that. I want everybody to feel, like, welcome to speak up and to share their perspective. Even if there's a strong disagreement, we can, like, treat each other with a modicum of respect about it, right? Like, we need more of that in the community, I think. Yeah, so I'm not going to get involved in the back and forth here because I don't really have the context for like these realms and stuff that you're talking about, so I'll just skip ahead. Feel free to pick it up in the debate thing. Just try to avoid stuff like saying, like, don't be scared, yes or no. Like, again, not to pick on you, Ryomen, but, you know, I don't think there's any need for that kind of hostility. You're getting started and it's horrible, useless facts. So yeah, just, like, keep it chill, guys. Michael Dorsey says Fishman Island. I'm sorry, Michael Dorsey. So when I talk too fast, sometimes the words come out stupid. I apologize. Michael Dorsey says, Fishman Island is at least 10 kilometers deep. I don't know that it has to be the ocean's deepest depth. Then again, however deep the sea around Wano is depends on its wall height. Yeah, so I like the fact that you're actually looking, like, for multiple metrics there, right? So trying to actually get a like a sketch almost of the 3D space. That makes sense. Okay. Kizaru says during this acceleration feat, acceleration is power. Other statement. Oh, okay, great. So yeah, there is some, like, diegetic world building about that. That's great. That's perfect. You are being chill. Okay, just keep it chill. Yeah, that's all good. Michael Dorsey says, Kizaru and Sanji have statements of speed and or acceleration contributing to weight or power. This is in reference to physical attacks they're throwing. That at least implies that greater speed contributes to greater AP, and if it's done with their bodies attacking, that should inform their durability. Yes, perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you for that clarification. Sleeper Also Demon says, no, it's a haunted spirit from a manga called Dusk Maiden of Amnesia. Your favorite story. Had to get this unnecessary info off my chest at the end there. All good, all good. Yeah, let me write that down. Dusk Maiden of Amnesia. I have like I'm super grateful to folks in the community as well for recommending stuff. I've got like a long list of things I gotta read up on. Like what was the other one that Kona was recommending a while ago? House in Fata Morgana. Now that I'm done this stupid project, I can like actually catch up on the stuff. House in Fata Morgana, and then like Jellyfish Sleep at Night or something, or Jellyfish Don't Sleep at Night. Red reminder to myself. Yeah, you guys come up with like really cool suggestions for stuff. I genuinely appreciate it. Also say that your syllogism is bad. Okay, all right. Take it easy, guys. Michael Dorsey says that greater speed contributes to. Oh yeah, we went over that. Las Noches. Useless preamble to get to the point. Dr. Senko says that deceptive character later says my sword isn't that long and isn't that faster in the reveal of his true plan. Oh, okay. So that's providing a little bit more context to that. I appreciate that. Okay, yeah, Shinigami, if you guys aren't having fun, then maybe best to kind of like divert for now and just respond to the server. Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to like shut down the conversation. I just want to make sure you guys are cool. Type of guy who is obsessed with research. If I see something not working, I would get mad. The sense, yeah, I think we kind of share that trait. Shinigami. Michael Dorsey says it's getting frustrating to debate this. There's no shame in disengaging from. Yeah, exactly. Right, like we're all passionate people. We're all like, if you are on a Sunday night depending on your time zone or whatever, listening to some fucking guy like rant and rave about, no, I don't think this character is actually Lightspeed because this character is not Lightspeed in this manga, but this other manga, like we're all extremely like peak levels of nerdiness here. Like, so, we're gonna get passionate, we're gonna get heated, and that's okay. Just as long as everybody's getting along at the end of the day, right? Okay, so Ultra Instinct Shadow says you should definitely get into the Fate scaling. Trust me, it's absolutely 100% easy to trust. Oh, no, I totally trust you. Yep, good. I will definitely, because that's what I would just love, something that's super chill and straightforward and doesn't have any arguments back and forth, and it's just something everybody agrees on is chill. Like, I want that energy in my life. Let's see. Us and Fata Morgana is mid. I don't know. I've heard really good things. Trust me, Aaron is average YouTube comment level. All right, this is getting a little too hostile. I think you guys should just take it to the Discord if you need to hash things out. Not picking sides. I just kind of not a huge fan of the spice, I guess. Sora Cloud. Oh, hey, Sora Cloud. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you are doing well. Sora Cloud says, I mostly scale video game characters, Marvel and DC characters. Cool. Yeah. What are some of your favorite characters to scale? And I'm curious if like you've done any crossverse scaling between those characters and Naruto. I have really wanted to like commission or to contribute to a video on like Kakashi from Naruto versus Sekiro, like the wolf from Sekiro, because I feel like they have a decent amount of overlap, especially like part 1 pre-Kamui Kakashi, right? Like they have a really interesting overlap of having a wide arsenal of skills. They feel like at an eyeball glance, they feel kind of relative. I actually think Sekiro might have an advantage over Kakashi in part 1, and then early part 2, Kakashi kind of inches ahead. But yeah, it would be really interesting, especially because of like Sekiro's ability to like deflect lightning. I wonder how that would come into play. But I just like I get so obsessed that I feel like if I can't like look at every single ability and every single technique and stuff, like then I'm really hesitant to actually put out a video. That's why I'd like to try and do the scaling myself. That's why I haven't done it yet, because like every time I start to work on a scaling video as opposed to responding to somebody else's, I feel like the amount of research I would need to do to actually feel comfortable putting something out is like way more than I can healthily do just because of how obsessive I get. But yeah. Yeah, drinking chi, drawing, that sounds great. I said I will after the stream, and since Sean requested that I continue the convo on server, yeah, I appreciate that. And again, like I'm not trying to single you out or like to shut down, like be the fun police or whatever. I just want to keep things chill, you know. I hope you understand. Ultra Instinct Shadow says, couldn't help it. I do it with every power scaler. Love watching their brain spells. They try to understand the moon and spirits. Oh, I love that shit. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I have to give Fata Morgana a try anyway because like another community member recommended it, and like I think it's their favorite series ever. And we share taste in other things too. So I promised them I would get into it. Um, so yeah. Tell me before I made my argument at all. Prior to that, syllogism. Okay. Yeah, I think you guys are kind of talking around each other there. But yeah, I love the brain melty stuff. So with that being said, like I've been keeping Dr. Strangle waiting for like 2 fucking hours to go over your video over here, or your article. So let's do that. I want to make sure that I'll have it up. What the hell? This one. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. You know, and I do appreciate you sharing this too, because it's like it's a very valuable learning tool. So, yep, we're gonna take a look at Dr. Strangle's website over here, Acolytes Emporium. If you haven't already, please check this site out. It is really cool. It is really good. It has a lot of useful information, including cool stuff about the data books and like arguments that I haven't really heard from anybody else before about like understanding the legal implications of authorship in Japan and stuff like that. So yeah, really cool site. Check them out. Show them some love. And Acolyte, Dr. Strangle here volunteered this analysis of the slow beam feat, which I am trying to bone up on, trying to learn more about. So this is great, perfect timing. Hey there, Omni. It's good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Hope the quest is going well. Yeah, how's everything going on your end? So, Adoki, okay, man, this really seems like it's light speed. Okay, so let's see. Is this character's name Nami? Clearly, I don't fucking know anything, right? So, this is Nami, right? Light shot out from his hand, slow beam, and we lost control of our bodies, where actually everything around us seemed to slow down. The boat, the waves. Can we look at this bigger? Oh yeah, an as yet undiscovered particle, gleam. Whatever this light strikes, whether it's a living creature, liquid, or gas, will maintain all its other properties but lose velocity. Okay, so this is definitely, it feels like it's introducing like kind of a new physics breaking thing. Like I don't know, at least personally, if Saria was still here, she could probably comment on it, but like if it makes sense at all in the real world for some things, physical attributes, to remain the same except for its velocity. Like this would be a question for like an ask a physicist of how that could possibly work. I don't know. It feels like magic to me, basically, right? So assuming that this necessarily follows the same rules of physics, I'm skeptical about that. It could be. I bet there's like a channel that does analysis or stuff like this that could have an explanation. But anyway, Luffy says that's absurd, or is it Nami saying that's absurd? You think it's impossible? In these waters, you're childish. Resistance means nothing. Slowpoke photons slow down anything they touch. Oh, when you say it like that, I understand. One thing I do want to point out is like these little sparks here. I see them quite a bit, and I think that they mean like it's like a finger snap, right? It's like, oh yeah, now that you mentioned that, like it's a becoming aware of something. It's a reaction. So I just want to explore that, because this is one of the things that people got like really upset with me about the other day. But yeah, I ate the slow fruit, so now I can emit these photons from my body. I became a slowpoke human. It's easier to understand this power if you see it in action. Hamburg, okay. Whoa, what the fuck is what is up with that dude? He doesn't look okay. But yeah, okay. So that's fair. So he's calling these things photons. They may actually be photons, but he's also kind of like describing them as being like as of yet undiscovered. So I wonder how much he actually knows about the science of them. The fact that he's using this terminology, it might indeed mean that these are like analogous to literal photons, but at the same time, like he just discovered them, right? Like this could be something different. This could be something a bit more magical that doesn't follow the same rules of physics as our world. Okay, so he says slow beam, and it looks like, okay, so here's the thing. this is one of the things where I would want to look at the anime. Well, first of all, I would like to ask the community whether or not you guys think that the anime is a good representation of the series overall, or does it kind of like do its own thing. But looking at this, what I would want to know about this is like, at what point, like, what is the choreography of this sequence over here? Does he say slow beam before or after the cannonball fires? Because if we're trying to see like how fast these little rings are, notice that we have like the beam of photons that he's referring to as photons. If you think about like how a laser works, right? The photons are all kind of like focused up in one point, and they're coming forward as an actual like linear beam almost. I mean, that's not quite accurate, but you know, you have the mirrors inside the laser that cause the photons to be emitted in a stream that's relatively tightly, narrowly focused. This doesn't look like that at all. It looks like he has a small circle, like a bubble that appears at his fingertips, and then the circle gradually expands and grows bigger as it goes outward. And depending on the sequence of events here, especially if we look at the anime, we could dispute this being a light speed feat by basically saying, okay, how fast are these rings moving in comparison to the cannonball? And if they are outspeeding the cannonball, like by how much? Like how fast is the actual cannonball, right? So I don't know. Intuitively, it seems to me like what happened here is this dude fired. Well, I don't know. It's not even possible to tell. Like I don't even think I could know just by looking at this whether the cannonball was fired first or whether he fired, whether he said his shit first, right? So I don't know. I would want to know. Everything the light strikes loses speed. Okay, that's fine. There are many wonders that people cannot conceive of in this broad ocean. Okay. The slowpoke effect lasts about 30 seconds, then this returns in a while. Again, like, is this feat something that's really analogous to real-world physics? You can't even believe your eyes. I will say I did like his his voiceover in the anime. Go Gorilla Puncher number 13. Why is it moving like that? I bet you think you can dodge these punches. Slow beam. Where's he aiming? Look behind you. Oh, cool. So again, like, I don't know anything about this, and I'm gonna go back and read your article, Dr. Strangle, but like, here are my questions, right? How fast is this thing? How fast is it moving? Why does he, like, he's apparently shooting the mirror because he thinks that it's more likely to hit him if it reflects off of the mirror. Oh wait, okay, here, like, isn't this all we need, right? Like, he says slow beam, we see the beam, he looks back, and the beam has not yet hit the mirror, and he says look behind you, and then Luffy says who's that? And like, the projectiles are traveling to the mirror while they're talking. So it can't be the speed of light unless like they're just talking in a totally abstractified way, like in like the lead. Yeah, that's really weird. Okay, slowpoke photons reflect off of mirrors. Okay, so yeah, the slowpoke photons seem to be bound up in these discs which expand, and so these are not like functioning the same way that like light photons are. If each one of these is a photon, that's what he's calling them, then like, yeah, these are not analogous to like light photons. Punches burn. Punch out Neptunian sea monsters. Okay. So maybe that could be some scaling Neptunian sea monsters. I will get back to chat. I just want to make sure I go through this real quick. Gun pistol. So he dodges out of the way. He does slow down his wrist before he can retract that. I remember that. Okay. Right, slowed down the space right in front of the glove. And then he like, yeah, so he puts the light, the slow shit in the way of Luffy's punch. Luffy then intersects it, and then that part of his punch gets slowed down, right? Makes sense. Okay, let me actually like read your article. I feel like I'm just reading the anime or the manga at this point. Okay. So, the villain of the arc, Foxy, has the ability to slow things down with a beam he emits from his hands, given him by the slow fruit. Nami, one of the smartest characters we have seen so far. Before the explanation by Foxy identifies the beams in the explanation by Foxy. Foxy also calls them light. He would go so far as saying the beams are made up of slowpoke photons. I think he can dodge these punches. Yeah, okay. And the slow beams even reflect off of mirrors, which is all really good evidence that the beams are real light and are probably the speed of light, but unfortunately there's no direct statement about them being the speed of light. People like to discount the strong evidence for the slow beams by basically saying there is strong evidence that we should discount the slow beams as real light or see them bend. Oh shit, I think I might have been dunking on your arguments. Not intentionally, I'm just trying to like give my knee-jerk reaction to this, right? You discount the slow beams of real light. Major light cannot do this, so space the light itself. Beams which form the light perspective is still a straight line path, but this does not account for the nuance of fruit abilities. That's fair. Like, the fruit might just, like, have their own fucking, like, weird properties that I don't know anything about. The slow fruit has been shown area effect like ability. Yeah. And make constructs, okay? Let me catch up here. Go to... Oh, right, with the... I remember seeing this shit. The slow Foxy face bomb. And then, like, one of them turns to him and starts talking. Yeah, I'm the real Foxy. Yeah. So are these moving at the speed of light because he's able to see them and say scary before they reach him, right? And the implications of these pins moving at the speed of light also is really weird for their durability. Okay. Oh yeah, this whole that whole thing was interesting. Cool spike tens. It's my slow beam sword. Oh yeah, that's cool. I restrained your arms and legs. The rest of your body should be mobile, so if you move around, I'll be able to. Oh yeah, I like that. This kind of like, it stores up the momentum of all the punches, right? And then he like takes all the damage all at once at the end. Yeah, and this was the dodging thing too, right? That we were talking about before. So I think this is probably the thing that people are talking about when they say like he dodges faster than the speed of light. But again, like if the anime is a good indicator of how this shit goes down, if I remember correctly, like he shouts slow beam, and then he moves his hand, and then the beam starts emitting from his hand, and then even so, it's like these little rings that aren't moving at the speed of light, unless the anime is just like really abstractified. Someone's a man, wild instincts, modern science. Yeah, here we go. Even modern science cannot solve this riddle. This hairdo will make your punches stronger. Yeah, so maybe we're working with some like slightly different rules over here. Even changes the way you talk. Okay, I'm not gonna touch that one. Okay, slow fruition, yeah, ability to make constructs. His slow sword can be seen bending when he uses it, which these constructs should be treated as their own part of his abilities. As we have seen, Logia users create constructs out of their elements, which have on numerous occasions been confirmed to be the real element. Include a later own light Logia that we have not seen. Direct statement of being light speed as well as showing the ability to make constructs. Okay, I thought those pins were just like something that Foxy had lying around. You're saying that like they're actually made out of the slow beam stuff? Luffy has shown the ability to cover a slightly larger distance and slow beam, same time frame. Like Lee fast light, but even with all this being said, much like the series during the scaling fight. Yeah. It can be argued that Afro is an amp anyways, meaning it doesn't scale. Oh, so you're saying that like, so even if you were to agree that Luffy is light speed here, it could actually be a byproduct of this Afro amp that sounds weird, that doesn't actually mean that he is the speed of light elsewhere. He's just like, for this one particular moment, in this one particular instance, he channels the power of the Afro, and he gets a one-time light speed, almost like body flicker, and then it kind of goes away. So that would like let us, like, allow us to have a freebie almost. Like, Luffy gets a light speed feat here for the sake of this this beat of the story, but then it doesn't necessarily put him at a cliff of light speed or higher for the rest of the series because of this particular buff. Is that what you're saying? Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing all this. This is definitely very interesting. I'm sorry, let me catch up on chat because I see the messages coming, and I just wanted to make sure that I like focused on this because I know I've been keeping Dr. Strangle waiting for hours to go over this shit. So thank you for your patience. Ryoman says Foxy literally states that his photons are a different kind of photons that aren't discovered by science. Yeah, that makes me think that at least there's the possibility that these don't quite follow the same rules as the photons in our universe. Ryoman said before, House and Fata Morgana is some empathy bait suffering merchant. I don't think that empathy is necessarily bad. So I'm not sure what your objection is there, but are you saying that it just like tries to constantly pull at your heartstrings and doesn't earn it or something like that? Because I can definitely understand if it feels like manipulative or whatever. Natural light is discovered by science in One Piece. Oh yeah, so have they actually? So like that would be my other question is like, do the characters in One Piece like demonstrably actually know anything about photons? Like, do they actually know how fast the speed of light is? And you know what's kind of weird to me also is that he like this is a battle shonen manga where characters are very explicitly and clearly saying that this is how my ability works. This is its limitation. This is its weakness. This is how strong it is. Blah 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 blah. Nobody ever says the speed of light. Like all these characters are around. They're watching this happen. They're commenting on the fight in real time, right? No, including this announcer who I remember from the anime is like speaks with an incredibly hyped up like you'll never believe this, folks, like kind of WWE announcer, RKO out of nowhere sort of voice. Motherfucker, nobody ever says anything about the characters being the speed of light. Like, isn't that a little weird? Not that that's like a fucking, like a complete debunk for anything, but isn't it weird that all of these people are watching these other characters fight, and they think it's significant that this ability slows things down, but when Luffy dodges out of the way, nobody says, "Oh my god, did you guys just see that? A human being, a fucking human being, just moved faster than the speed of light." Like, nobody reacts to that. And this is why I'm like, I feel like maybe we're missing the forest for the trees here as power scalers. You know what I mean? Again, that's not like some kind of a trap card instant defeater to the argument or anything like that. But it is a weird inconsistency in the world building. Like, wouldn't the author want their characters to give a shit about the fact that this character just fucking outsped light itself? I don't know. Seems like it would be worth mentioning, unless it's just mundane for people to move at the speed of light at this point anyway. And if that were the case, we should be able to find some evidence for that, right? Like, okay, so let's go 100 chapters behind, 100 chapters ahead. Let's read around this and see, like, this is what I wanted to know in that fucking, in Eon stream. I wanted somebody to tell me, okay, can somebody please point out another speed feat and or speed anti-feat within, like, 50 chapters of this, that it as another example of a character doing something impressive speed-wise. Because if like 100 chapters later a character outspeeds sound and everybody's like, oh my god, can you believe it, he outsped sound, he broke the sound barrier, then all of a sudden that doesn't make sense that like he outsped light over here, but now everybody's gassing him up for breaking sound. Okay, well maybe this wasn't actually a light speed feat, right? Like, that's why I think it's important to build a consistency across a larger time domain. Anyway, Omni says doing pretty good, but also about ready to go home to Denmark. We will be taking the plane on the 28th. Oh fuck yeah, dude! Well, I hope it was. Hope you were able to reconcile things with your group. I hope you ended things on a positive note. Get home safe. You know, I'm sure you'll be happy to have some time to rest after that long journey. Would love to hear more about it if you are looking to share. But yeah, just congratulations on that chapter of your life, if that makes sense. Michael says, definitely skeptical of Foxy's slow photons being light speed. They're not emphasized for their light speed, and I think some stuff in Enya's lobby contradicts any light speed notions. Yeah, that's interesting. Again, like, I'm not here to tell you that you can't believe that uh, One Piece characters are light speed. It doesn't make sense to me based on, from a power scaling standpoint. I guess to go back to, who was it, like Sleep Paralysis Demon, or was it, no, it was Ultra Instinct was asking before about like Kaguya being star level. You know what? If you are a normal human being who is reading this and you're like, cool, I think that Luffy, who's a character that I like, can move faster than the speed of light, I'm not gonna like come to your house and smack the manga out of your hand and tell you you're an idiot. Like, of course not. Like, that's fine. Have fun with it. I think within a power scaling context where we are like grown ass men yelling at each other over the internet about this stuff, if we're gonna do that, then we have to like apply a set of standards. And I don't personally see how Luffy is like measuring up to those standards of evidence, if that makes sense, based on this at least. Ultra Instinct Shadow says most physics don't really apply in a typical way in One Piece. It's more the cartoony side of scaling. People can move at hypersonic speeds, but we wall victims best to brush past the outliers. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, this could just be an outlier, and that's why I do understand some people in the Eon's chat were like, if you want to know if Luffy is light speed, how about you read the fucking manga, John? I'm like, yep, that's totally fair. My experiment here was I'm trying to understand this from a neutral perspective, but you know what? I will never claim to be any kind of an authority, especially if I haven't read the fucking manga. That's totally fair. Oh, Abstract's back. How you doing, man? Abstract says I'm back, and LMAO John, I feel that it took me roughly 6 months for Kakashi versus Toshito. Yeah, dude, like, and I respect that, like, your work shows that quality of the level of investment and care and dedication that you put into it. And I'd like to try to aspire to a similar, like, quality level. The thing is, like, I think I achieved that with my Itachi versus Pain video. Honestly, like, I genuinely think that that's a high quality video. There are things that I would change, other things I think I could do better. Like I mentioned, one of the things that I regret is not putting in page numbers for everything, because like I've been writing people about that and being like, you need to show like citations and stuff like that, and then going back in that whole video is basically just a fucking slideshow of just random ass pages. And some of them have page numbers that you can see visibly, and some of them don't. And like, for anybody who wants to learn more about that shit, they just kind of gotta go find it, and that kind of sucks for them, right? So like, I do regret that. But I think overall, in terms of the argumentation and stuff, I feel happy about the way that video turned out. But oh my god, I had to like put everything else in my free time on hold for that. Like, and I was like so fucking exhausted, and just like it almost got me to the point of being burnt out with Naruto entirely. Like, when I released that, I was like, I like the next day I got up and I would like had an impulse to just delete the channel and take it down, because I was like, so I can't believe I just spent all this fucking time doing this, right? Like, I was more angry than anything when it first came out, but just because I didn't manage my time well, and I didn't come up with a strategy to help me, you know, be healthy about that. So I'm very, I have ideas for other videos that I really want to do, but I know how my brain works. I know that if I don't have a plan to try to like manage myself, then it's just not going to be healthy, and I'm going to wind up regretting it. Case in point, the past 2 weeks of just like not managing my time at work well, and doing all this overtime and shit, and just being like totally exhausted tonight. So I'm running out of words. Anyway, Ultra Insect says, oh yeah, we talked about the physics. Sherlock Holmes apparently can figure out where you were based on the quality of water of your clothes, but he doesn't know the earth goes around the sun. Holy shit, that's actually really funny. Abstract says, it definitely takes a toll to make an accurate scaling video. Time, research, other creators' videos, what type of scaling you're going to follow. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this is always such a dividing point, for lack of a better term for me, is like, when I was working on that video, I was constantly asking myself, like, okay, should I watch a bunch of other people's videos on the subject and, you know, make sure that I'm keeping up with the current meta arguments or whatever, and have like responses to those if needed. Ultimately, I decided to kind of go dark. Like, for the last maybe half of the time I spent working on that video, I like unsubscribed from various YouTube channels that were Naruto content. Like, I literally stopped watching any Naruto content except for stuff that I was finding myself, because I was like, I want this, even if everything in this video is dumb as hell, and I disagree with everything in it, like, within a couple months, I want this to exist as like a time capsule of like, I tried to make these arguments myself and to see if they would stand. And I really didn't want it to be like a piggybacking off of other people's arguments. I know I did like inevitably use other people's stuff, because I had absorbed things from the community, and I tried to mention that, like, if I use somebody's analogy or whatever, I tried to mention them by name. But I didn't want it to just be like a synthesis of other arguments. I wanted to see like, okay, sink or swim, how far can I go with this, right? And I think that as an exercise, just like getting personal for a second here, like outside of Naruto content in general, I have like a real problem with starting things and being really passionate about them, and then doubting myself and then failing to finish. Like I have so many fucking unfinished like pieces of music that I was composing, or like little video game projects or whatever else, like art projects, book projects, and I just get like I start to come up with reasons why not to do them, and then I never do them, and I have like a massive pile of shit that's just never gonna get done. So part of what it was is I wanted to force myself to just be like, you know what, this one is for me. This one, I need to not listen to the doubt. I need to not like I need to be selfish about this and just prove to myself that I can see this through to the end. And for that, I don't regret it. Like anything else about me being unhealthy or whatever is something I need to learn from. But yeah, like just having something that I can point to and be like, you know what, that time I didn't doubt myself, and I'm pretty happy about how it came out. So yeah. Still plenty more to learn though. Anyway, animation should be a separate canon for the manga with how they change events, says Michael. Kaido blitzing and one-shotting Luffy versus Enmei Kaido staying put and taking Luffy's switch. Oh, okay, yeah, that's very important context. I appreciate that. I think, would you say it's still a reasonable representation of like pacing and stuff like that? At least for this fight. Noro Noro beam fired, then cannon is fired before the Noro Noro beam. Oh, okay, so they do actually change some of the shit around like that. How about no? That makes sense. It's good context for sure, because yeah, like we've talked about this before, of course, but there's a massive difference in like the pain fight in Naruto in the manga versus the anime, right? So and which one you use for your scaling can have a significant effect on like how you perceive each character versus the other. To go with the rage baiter, the Kuribo of the stream, I feel like putting the two of them in a room would be like putting the two betta fish, like the two male betta fish together in a cup. Like you never do that because they're just gonna fight, or they'll fall in love. Yeah, maybe that's the other option. And then I want to go over something with you that I hope you can address in the live stream. It has to do with our genjutsu. Yeah, there's only one Kuribo. Yeah, the one that's one smart you guys are talking about, right? One smart is very very passionate and very insightful. Like or how can I say? I want to find the right words. I appreciate that. Like I put out some videos, and one smart will be there in the comment section, and we'll have like pages of comments. And genuinely, I really like that, because like I want this to be a conversation. I want this to be like part of a back and forth, right? So, he and I, for whatever reason, kind of tend to disagree pretty consistently, but like he always gives me like very detailed replies to things, which takes time and which means he's paying attention. So like I appreciate that. I'm saying he, I don't know their gender actually, but like, so hopefully I got that right. But yeah, Sage's video kind of proves Genjutsu Naruto is limited to Naruto. Oh, is that? I thought what he. I've only gotten like up to here, but isn't. Oh, possible debunks. Isn't his perspective that Genjutsu does work cross-verse? I mean, the thumbnail is literally like fucking Itachi, and fucking hang on a second. The thumbnail, yeah, it's like it's Itachi crucifying Goku. So I mean, I'm guessing he thinks that it does work cross-verse. I would be surprised if he doesn't think so. Yeah, now I'm really curious to get into this later. Yeah, this. Yeah, abstract. So I will be curious if you respond to that video on stream, or even if you just have thoughts, because like you seem to know quite a bit about like both how chakra works, like we've talked about that before, as well as genjutsu functionality, right? That's the topic that you've covered in the past, I think. And so I would be curious to see what you think about Sage's video. I will say I wasn't like, I haven't gotten that deep into it, but I was kind of raising an eyebrow over the sources, and the way that they were presented early on. So I think maybe before we wrap up the stream, I might like just respond to the first 2 minutes of this from an argumentation standpoint. But yeah, let me catch up on chat first. To do with intelligence, faster than light sound, of course. Yeah, exactly. Where sound is FTL, there's got to be a devil fruit for that, right? Dr. Singh said the third image was the end of that collage of images, full exit view. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Is there something in here? Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you rephrase that? Because I don't want to ignore your comment, but I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Sorry, dude. Um, the abstracts are very observant. They talk faster when the beams travel. Yeah, it is a little strange, isn't it? Unless it's just like cartoon physics or whatever, right? Which is entirely possible. Entirely possible. Um, shouldn't educate anyone when it comes to intelligence. Oh, come on. That's pretty rude. Oh, I think maybe maybe you're being a little tongue in cheek there, but just like try to keep it friendly, please. Um, oh, how about no? Yeah, I'm sorry. But for whatever reason, fucking YouTube doesn't let links in the chat. I'm not even getting it on my streamer bot. Like it just doesn't show up at all. If anybody, yeah, I'll just say that as a general message. If anybody has tried to send me a link in YouTube chat ever, I don't mind at all. I would actually love for that to be a thing. But YouTube won't tell me. It won't tell me that it blocked the message. It won't tell me it intercepted it or whatever. I won't see it. It just like doesn't show up at all. So just so you guys know, I'm not like ignoring them and I don't have a problem with them. It's just YouTube just automatically like snips it before I even get to see it. Um, yeah, abstract. I think I don't want to like speak for them. I think they just kind of. Ryomen does tend to be pretty spicy. With his getting the discussion going. I'll say that. But I think that they're just kind of hashing something out. It's cool. Um, the swords at the end of that section. The swords at the end of that section exit full view. I'm sorry, I'm being dumb, aren't I? The swords. End of that section. Exit full view. Uh, I'm sorry. It's probably like right in front of me, and I'm just being dumb. Here. Oh, here. No, that's what we were looking at before. Oh, this. You're talking about the sword over here? Like the intestine sword? Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that in the anime too. That's really cool. Cool, cool, cool. Hopefully this is we're on the same page now. Let's see. I'm gonna send you some stuff on Discord, okay? The Afro Amp Usopp is talking out of his ass. Yeah, I didn't want to dispute the Afro boost there because I don't know the full implications of it. I had a feeling it was like this kind of reminded me of like you remember Gengetsu, the Hozuki clan member who summons the giant clam during the war arc in Naruto. He goes on and on about like which characters have eyebrows and which don't, and he's like a fan of Gara. He's like, yes, another eyebrow-less wonder like myself, showing like I wonder if like there's a similar thing going on where like they just happen to believe that their hairstyle or their aesthetic conveys a certain power up or whatnot, or like Guy and his onesie or whatever you call it. But I don't know. Gonna be home soon, get some rest, says Michael. Yeah, totally cool. Hope you have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. Let's see. Super Genius Prodigy. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Slow photons are probably gravitons. Interesting. That would be cool. Discord. Plan to screen record the parts I'm talking about with noodles. You're actually like debating noodles, or are you just talking about something noodles said? I'm curious. Good luck if you wind up getting into a conversation with him. I hope it goes well. I hope it goes better than it did with me when I did. I said, which is funny, something like that happened in Toriko. We have the spear the character named Coco throws, and he says it's light speed, but then a Monkey King dodges, and Coco says, "Oh my, he moved faster than light." Okay, yeah, that's a great example. So like, that could mean, at the very least, that's a character responding in a way that you would actually expect to see somebody responding to somebody moving faster than the speed of fucking light. But also, like, that maybe should get us as an audience to call into question whether it was literally the speed of light or whether it was just this character's perception about it, thinking it was the speed of light. How about No says this is right before CP9, which Oda states their sword technique is. Okay, so we do actually have like a specific number associated with it. That's useful. Kind of photon probably means it's some kind of massless particles, which in the real world mean inherently moving the speed of light. Okay, that could work. Yeah. Luffy supersonic. Stated it's not in the manga. Okay, you guys are kind of going back and forth. That's cool. Oh, Omni says I'll be able to reconcile with one of them. The other, I think, honestly needs to reflect on himself, but he has like an I've already figured it out. Oh, yeah, that can be pretty frustrating if they're not willing to like meet you in the middle with shit like that. Yeah, it's frustrating as hell. How about no says the state in the SBS is stated to be equal to cat dance ability, stated to cover. Oh, okay, so you do actually have like some a calc there. Omni says since he's not really going to be receptive and thus I have no idea how that can be kickstarted. Yeah, I mean, like if they're not willing to meet you in the middle, it's kind of hard to. I don't know if you can like force somebody to be empathetic and mature enough to hash things out with you like that. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Ryoman says maybe Kuro would lose some velocity over a longer distance. That's true, like with drag or resistance or whatever else. That could be. Michael says fair enough, proving the reference or providing the reference. Still not sure that would take priority over the other feats, especially with Luffy already reacting to lightning and Skypia. Cool. I will say they have a lot of like really interesting names for things. I'm curious to learn what Skypia is about. Sending your abstract, your research. Oh, on the Noodles Clyde video. Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. How about Nosa's Skypia feats to take it which on the panels? You can get proper movement ratios of the cloud to ground. Yeah, when they move slower to the lightning, but it's still quite fast. Would you say so? Out of curiosity, is the Skypia stuff, does that happen later in the story versus this the slow fruit stuff or slow beam? Enel's lightning being slower than natural since it's confirmed that Delphi is going to manipulate their elements. Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, just because something is lightning, like, I don't think that Kakuzu's false darkness is necessarily the speed of lightning just because it is a lightning technique, a lightning nature release technique. If you come to that conclusion, I don't think you're stupid or anything. Like, I think it's probably fine to come to that conclusion, but I don't think it's like definitive or anything. You know what I mean? I think you can also argue that because this is it's not like he's creating natural lightning. He is taking his chakra and then he is changing the elemental nature of his chakra so that it has certain quote unquote natural properties, and then he is moving the chakra, right, and shaping the chakra. So he essentially, it's kind of like making a spear out of like a magical spear and then putting a lightning enchantment on it and then shoving it at somebody. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily moving at the speed of lightning because it's lightning enchanted. Unless it is, which I mean it might be, but like or sorry, if you're reading through it casually, like from a neutral standpoint for the first time, you wouldn't be crazy coming to that conclusion at all. But then if you put it in context of like Kirin and they're very very clear, hey, by the way, everybody, just in case anybody is confused, this is natural lightning and dodging it is basically impossible, reacting to it is insanely impressive because it's natural lightning, then that it's kind of weird for that not to have come up about Kakuzu's thing. And so you're like, oh, okay, the author is clearly drawing a distinction between natural lightning versus chakra with lightning transformation applied to it. So these are two different things and they don't necessarily follow the same rules, right? So that's how you can kind of like put things together across different arcs even to get a better, like, you can understand Kakuzu's jutsu better by understanding Kirin and vice versa, if that makes sense. Let's see. Oda states in the SBS that he thinks Kuro's speed technique would be, oh, okay, which the later SBS says even faster version. Okay, so the SBS I'm taking it is like not necessarily like to be taken with 100% accuracy. It's tongue in cheek, as you were saying before, right? Kizaru is confirmed to consistently use his light in a way that's slower than light. Okay. You mentioned page numbers before, and it's motivated me to start adding them to my presentation, but I have so many panels on deck, sometimes I forget to do it. So some have them, some don't, but I'm trying. Yeah, dude, and like, don't let me come down hard on you about pause about that, because again, like the real thing that bothers me, and like I'm gonna pick on Sage for a second here, is that like, okay, if you put up a panel from Naruto, right? Like if I'm making a Naruto video and I don't know, I want to show a scene from like this fight with Zabuza, right? And so I just pull it out and I put this panel in my video and I don't happen to mention where this is from. It's kind of annoying if you are a viewer and you want to know where this comes from, because now you have to go find it. But you could go to like the Naruto wiki and you could type in Zabuza fight or whatever, or even just Google or ChatGPT, and you could find this pretty easily. You could, you know, find at least the range of chapters, and you could find it within 5 or 10 minutes, right? Like, if you sent me a scan of Gengetsu, which is with this fucking clam, I could probably, even if I've never, like, I haven't read the war recently, I don't remember that character at all, I can probably track it down within 5 or 10 minutes, just knowing, like, where the fights are, where the feats are, and stuff like that, right? You can go to like Naruto wiki and you can look up like okay, Gengetsu's abilities, and then you can search by the clam, and then like it'll show the first time it's used, and then you can, etc. You know what I'm talking about. It's a little harder though if you're like Sage and you're like, oh yeah, um, the according to the what does it even say? According to like the 100 like 1 decade 100 shinobi, uh it says this particular thing, and it's like, okay, well, what the fuck is 1 decade 100 shinobi in the first place? What part of this is this from? Where the fuck are these? Like, how would anybody find this? How would anybody find the source of this without like actually owning a copy of this? Like, how do I find a copy? How do I get one? Like, this is way harder, right? So you basically just kind of have to take it on faith that like, okay, I guess these are coming from the thing he's talking about, and I guess this is a reliable source. I guess I just kind of have to go along with that, and I guess I'll never know who uploaded the scans for these videos. Thank you, whoever you were. I don't know who you are, but thanks. Hope you got, you granted permission to use your uploads here. So this is the thing. Something I was gonna mention at the beginning of the stream that I didn't get around to, is for any of you who might have missed the community post I did a couple weeks ago. I have finally, I should have started with this, honestly. I finally managed to track down that fucking Kaguya scan. So if you have, heard me talk about Kaguya before, you've probably seen this scan that got passed around the community over here, which is this thing about Kaguya being able to supposedly transpose her dimensions. You've heard people potentially refer to the Boruto Ninja Directory, and the quote-unquote Boruto Ninja Directory is this mysterious ethereal entity that's been used to justify Kaguya scaling but never really actually identified. It's something that Sage has used in a lot of his videos. I've seen other people use it too. And so I was on this fucking quest to try to figure out where it came from. We went through this whole saga where like I asked Salad and Bolts if she knew where it would come from, where it came from, because she's more familiar with the actual like weekly releases and shit. I found a YouTube channel, I think Saria, or not Saria, it was, maybe it was How About No? One of you cool dudes in the Discord sent, that sounded so awkward. I'm so fucking tired. I'm sorry. One of you rad fucking hip cats hit me up with a cool link. One of you nice, genuinely helpful people sent me. I'm losing my fucking mind. One of you nice people sent me a link to a YouTube channel where the guy has these weekly releases. It might have been Dr. Strangle. I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. Weekly releases or monthly releases of V-Jump, and was like flipping through them and showing us like, here's all the stuff in them, please enjoy. And I went through every single video on his channel, I think, certainly everyone from September 2019, from 2019, couldn't fucking find it. I started buying random issues of Weekly Shonen Jump and V-Jump off of eBay. I don't even want to mention how much I got charged for a couple of them, but eventually, like a month later, I finally found the issue where this shit is from. And so now it is up here, it's on my blog. Anybody who sees this, you are more than welcome to use this and distribute this in the community. I'm realizing now that like some of the pages I didn't do a great job scanning this, so like part of the page here gets cut off. I will rescan these this week now that I'm done with my work project. So if any of this gets cut off, please feel free to bug me about it, but just know that I'm on it and I'm going to get better scans. But in the meantime, also, if you want to purchase your own copy, this is what the cover looks like. You can find it on eBay. Sometimes it can be usually the pricier, the more expensive versions are the ones that come with the little collectible cards. You can find cheaper ones without the cards. So, if you find one for $50 and one for $150, maybe go for the $50 one if you don't care about getting the collectibles. But yeah, here it is, and my hope is that this will make it easier for people to talk about this shit, because the number of times I saw literally just this uh, just this tiny little thing clipped out from all this context, and nobody explained like where it comes from. Oh, it's from the V jump, and like like that's supposed to fucking mean anything. That's the shit I'm talking about. That's how it's like why it's so frustrating, because if you actually want to learn about this shit, you actually want to like educate yourself more, you want to understand the context it's coming from, it's like not possible. I found the original person on Twitter who uploaded the scan in the first place and reached out to them for context. I didn't get a reply. They mentioned like what issue it was, but it was you know, it was tough to locate it because. So how about, no, this is not to slander you at all. This is not to not express gratitude. I'm very grateful for you sending me the shit, just to be very clear. Unfortunately, this is not your fault. Let's see. V jump flip through September 2019. Unfortunately, this guy over here, cool dude, I talked to him directly and asked him for help, and he didn't know where to find stuff. Let's see. I want you to come on this little journey with me, so you understand the pain that I've been through. Where's the 2019 ones? Okay. V-Jump 2019 overviews. We were so fucking close. We're so close, right? So, May, June, July, August, September. So, this person, Dokkan Assets over here, what he does is he purchases the actual V-Jump issues, and then he'll flip through them and kind of show you what's in them. So he purchased 447. He purchased this issue over here, and he uploaded a flip through. But because I was specifically looking for, where the fuck is it? Because I was specifically looking for this Kaguya page, right? This Kaguya page. When I got to his video, look what happens. He opens it up, flips through it. I'm gonna mute it actually, just so we don't get like the glitchy audio. Opens it up, flips through it. Okay. Initial like promotional material, blah blah blah. Goes through it. Okay. And then he gets to this chapter, oh, promotional material for Boruto. That looks kind of similar, but it doesn't look quite right. And then he gets to the manga, opens it up. Oh, there's a cool little spread, but that's not what I was looking for either. Okay. So jumping ahead to the actual publication of this month's issue of the manga, reads through it, and then look what happens. Look, he gets to the end of it. He flips into the data book, quote unquote thing, right? The ninja directory, flips into it, but I didn't recognize this. I didn't know what it was, because I'm like, okay, that kind of looks like the Kaguya thing. I'm seeing battle, but I'm not seeing Kaguya herself, right? And so he's like, oh, okay. I don't know about that. Goes on to the next thing. Like, okay, well, and then he flips, oh, getting a little closer, right? So here's some more characters, but then he just happens to flip through he skips the one page, and this is not his fault, right? It's just like the pages just stuck together, and he skipped, and so I watched this, and I was like, oh, I guess it's not here. I guess that, like, ChatGPT, as well as whatever else, like, fucking, people on Twitter and everybody else that I've been asking about this, they just got it wrong, and it's not in here, because clearly this person is flipping through all the pages, and I didn't catch the page number. I didn't catch the page missing. So then I watched all the other videos from all of the years, and then oh my fucking god. So, you know, it was so close and yet so far. So I had to put this up there, because now going forward, like, please share this, send it to people, get people, like, I don't even need to be personally credited for this. I don't care. I just want other people to have better access to this shit, because it's like it's so frustrating to be like, hey, you just use this, you know, as part of you use this piece of information as a core part of your argumentation, and you're relying on it for your scaling, and you just vaguely waved your hand and said, oh, it comes from a thing, and like, I would like to find that, please. And it's taken me, honestly, like a year from the first time I saw the scan to actually be able to find it, but it's taken like a month of more intense, like, financial investment, and like however many fucking like eBay people I was like writing to people on eBay being like, can you go get this issue out of storage and flip through it and see if it has the page, and then I'll buy it. And just like whole fucking saga to wind up right where we started. It's really, really funny. I'm so happy I got to share this with you. Anyway, Let's see. So this is a whole long tangent. Sorry, about the page numbers thing. But yeah, Abstract says gonna check out your Itachi versus Pain video. Love slideshow presentations. Yeah, dude, thank you. I really appreciate that. Let me know what you think. No pressure, of course. It's a long fucking video, so please take your time and don't feel any pressure. Um, Blasts are valid as electricity, but CTG is that fast because it's ground to ground. Oh yeah, okay. Kurubu is the most dedicated Naruto supporter I've ever encountered. He has my utmost respect. Good, good, good. Yeah, yeah. He feels like I've seen him. I think on Eon streams too. He's like very consistent with his feedback and all that, and that's appreciated. He indirectly disproves it. Unchecked says they're about the same speed. Okay. I'll spin on stream. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. Okay, I'll have my notifications on. I'll be looking forward to it for the stream. Abstract. How about No says nothing about faster, just Koro's reactions aren't fast enough for him to maneuver. Sage makes the case that chakra network is something that humans have gained through evolution. Interesting. You really have to give John the /J labels. We accept the premise for whatever reason, despite the mountains of evidence saying otherwise. Whatever section would have 3 images, and you would move on to the 4th images, saying the exit the full view. I am still, my brain is so fucking cooked, bro. I still don't know what you're talking about. Can you please do me a favor and send me the thing you want me to see in Discord? Because I feel like I'm just gonna keep... This reminds me like the first time on stream where you were trying to get me to guess your name as being like Acolyte, and you took me like an hour to like not pick up on your hints at all, and then eventually I think you just had to explain it to me. It was, oh my god, I'm sorry. Sometimes my brain is just like that, dude. Shinigami says, let's go, since he's arguing that chakra network exists as something humans only gain its evolution. Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, I think we were talking about that a little while ago, or maybe Abstract. This is something that I mentioned on your stream. I forget, but it was like the idea that if supposedly Kaguya was the first person to have a chakra, right? And then she had Hagoromo and Hamura, and some of her chakra was inherited to them, was like passed on to them, right? So that being said, Hagoromo showed people how to use chakra in the form of ninchu, which then became ninjutsu. But in order for them to be able to use it, they would have it would have been a requirement for them to have the ability to use it, right? So they needed to have some sort of biological mechanism, like a chakra network, in order to be able to use chakra. So one of 2 possibilities seemed likely to me based on that. One, human beings had this path, this network of whatever in them. Call it nerves, call it, some kind of call it meridians, call it whatever, like some kind of like a chi pathway, right? Like the way that we think of chi flowing in the through the body. If you, I'm revealing my ignorance here, but like if you think of like Eastern medicine, like traditional Eastern medicine, realizing now that even saying that just reveals my ignorance about the whole thing, but bear with me here. The concept of chi is not something that just comes out of like Avatar and Dragon Ball, right? It's obviously something that has like a deep history and cultural tradition, and we have like the notion of different chakra nodes in different parts of your body. This is part of like real world tradition and culture, okay? So let's just say that wound up being an accurate representation of human anatomy. And the humans in Naruto had some kind of a fucking pathway that was called, I don't know, the Oobleck pathway. Like, who knows, right? They didn't even have a name for it. It was just part of their bodies. Then Hagoromo came along. He gave them chakra. And the chakra was like, fuck, I need a place to go to flow through these people's bodies. Oh, cool, look, there's a pathway here. I guess I'll just go in here, right? So rather than flowing through the bloodstream, they found this network of meridians and were like, okay, I'm going to go insert myself in here because I'm comfortable, I'm chakra, I can flow through here, this works. And that if the human beings hadn't had some kind of biological pathway, chakra just would not have worked on them at all. There's something about human anatomy that allows for them to receive chakra, and there was a pathway that was already present that let the chakra flow through them. If that's the case, then that has implications for crossword scaling, I suppose. The other explanation that I like, but I don't think there's any evidence for this, is that when Hagoromo gave them chakra, the chakra started to try to go through their body and like didn't have anywhere to go, so it made a path. basically, like, he altered their genetics, either intentionally or unintentionally, by giving them chakra. The chakra had to carve out pathways for itself to flow through their bodies. So the chakra network was a byproduct of being given chakra in the first place. Again, I don't think there's any evidence for that. There's a precedent for the idea that, like, obviously, if Naruto can heal Kakashi's eye and bring back Guy basically from the brink of death and restore his body, the idea that they could grow, like Hagoromo himself could potentially grow some kind of new neural pathways or whatever, or like alter genetics, like that doesn't break the rules at all. That doesn't mean there's positive evidence for it though. So it's like it really is just headcanon. But the analogy that I tried to use before is like, if you watch like rainfall on a sandy slope, the rain, the individual like uh, bits of rain on the side of the sand dune will initially start to just land in random positions, but then once a couple of them coalesce and get together, they'll start to form little streams, and then the streams will kind of branch out and then goes to all the way, like starts to kind of gather in these little channels and roots and stuff, and then it becomes more and more likely for them to gather together in those channels. It's nothing about the sand dune itself that is like, hi, I'm going to make myself conform to the shape that will be useful for chakra. It's that, like, for rain, sorry, but the rain droplets, due to their natural interaction with this surface, just carve out a path that then winds up being more convenient and like the path of least resistance for themselves. So I like that as a visual metaphor for how chakra can like course through the body and make itself its own pathways, I guess. But again, that's entirely headcanon. I have no idea whatsoever if it actually checks out. It's one of those things that is like, I don't know, kind of abstract, I guess. No pun intended. I don't know about faster. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. You can't equalize with any other verse. It means it have chakra for Hagoromo. They evolve to gain it. Yeah. It's really interesting topic for sure. He likely didn't. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to go pretty soon, but let's take a look at the first couple of minutes of Sage's video, just to kind of bring this all to a close. Femto can't lose to any character in... who? Oh, no, sorry, I just saw your message, Shinigami. He argues that Femto can't lose to any character in fiction and does debates about that. That's weird. I don't even know if Femto could beat Void. Like, maybe he could, but I don't think it's definitive. I'm not even certain that Femto clears his own verse. That's interesting. I'd be interested to hear the argumentation. I mean, he's obviously incredibly strong. But yeah. I feel like I've heard that name before, but I'm not sure. Yeah, feel free to send me like if there's a video you want me to look at in the vid recommendations channel, I'll check it out. I think being abstract is the best tax in fiction. Requires you to be outside of time, and therefore you can't affect him, so no time means there's no change, so he can't lose. That's yeah, I feel where you're coming from. I think that's an interesting concept, the idea that like characters have they're essentially like rule breakers, right? Like you can't, they automatically win, or they just like have no real way of being countered because they're rewriting the rules of reality to fit their own notions, and basically can just rewrite reality to be as like convenient for them as they need to be. And I think there are some examples of that. Like there's some shit in Doctor Strange, right, where like characters or maybe or like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or like there's definitely media that I've seen relatively recently where things like that happen. Like the nature of things change, the logic of things change, the rules of the fabric of the universe change, and stuff like that. And I can see why you would make that argument for a character like Femto, but at the end of the day, like he does have a body that is made of flesh. He does, like, I don't know, have a sword that I think is just a fucking sword, right? So I think that he has the ability to interact with the world in ways such, like, in certain ways under certain circumstances to bring about, like, incredible change. But at the same time, I don't think he necessarily works without limitations like that. Not that that's what you were literally saying. I'm just trying to like think ahead to the arguments, you know. Okay. Yeah, the tiredness is hitting me, so I'm gonna leave pretty soon. But like, give me the scan and the DMs. Okay, awesome, thank you, I appreciate that. I always have at least the volume number. That's totally fine. I don't think it's realistic for everybody to show every single fucking page numbers precisely, but like, especially with going back to the Grammarly stuff, and this is something we've talked about previously on stream, right? Like, if you're gonna make an argument about like using Grammarly as a source, uh, that's okay. Like, it's not like you're not allowed to do that, but to just put up like a random text blurb and not provide a link to the author and the not establish the credibility of the source or why it's actually worth taking at face value. You just kind of put up some text, and it's like, okay, it's kind of up to your readers at that point to be curious enough about what the fuck this is to then Google it and look at it and like do all this extra work to establish. They're essentially like doing your homework for you. You know what I mean? Like, at that point. So I'm not really gonna. It might be like slightly annoying if I personally am watching somebody's video and they have a page up and I'm like, oh shit, I really wish I had a page number for that because I would like to go and read that now. But that's not that big of a deal. I've done the same thing myself. It's like maybe unrealistic for me to expect everybody to get every fucking page number like that, right? But there's a difference between that and between like using external sources or that shit we were talking about where like, hey, I'm gonna take a definition from this dictionary entry, but I'm specifically going to pick the one dictionary entry that's behind a fucking paywall for no reasonable explanation, and then I'm going to take an additional sense and be like, you see this additional sense? This is the only definition of fiction or of canon insofar as it applies to fiction or whatever. It's like, okay, there's something more going on here beyond just like, sorry, I forgot to mention that. There's different categories of things that we're talking about at this point. Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you for linking the beat jump video. Honestly, like, I kind of like side quests like that, so to speak. So it wound up being kind of funny. It's just, you know, I'm not annoyed at having to go through that journey per se because it was kind of fun, but it's kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. I really did actually enjoy the process of going through it, but I think like for the sake of making the information available to people in general to continue having like positive and fair discussions, just don't do that. If specifically because what's his name, Miku, the person who did the initial translation was like, hi, I am offering this freely for free, here you go, please do not use this translation without my permission. And like, guarantee you, I've seen this dozens of times. Like, Sage at least did his own translation, but like, I've seen people use that exact scan dozens and dozens of times without ever crediting the fucking person. And I'd be willing to bet like dollars to donuts that they didn't fucking get their permission either, you know. So it's part of this larger trend of like, ooh, gimme, that's mine now, haha, that our community engaged in. It it really pisses me off because that person was so nice. Like, they responded to a request from a community member, they went through the effort of doing this, and all they asked for in return is like, please just like ask me for permission before using that. And they're like, fuck you, haha, I got this is mine now, I don't have to credit it, like, now I can use this for whatever argument I want. And if people say that they disagree with me, they haven't read the story, I know better than them, they should sit down and shut their mouths. It's like, oh my god, like, what fucking happened to us, you know? That kind of shit, that whole narrative of just like the gimme, I don't know. That probably sounded really stupid, but hopefully that made some sense. I'm going to try to get more than 3 hours of sleep tonight. Hopefully that'll result in a more coherent stream next week. Thank you all for being patient with me. I think the Born with Chakra refers to Keke Genkai. Oh, okay, maybe just misunderstood. Abstract says, the first interpretation is more in line with everything we're told about chakra. The second interpretation makes sense, and I've heard it before, but it's not supported by the series. It's abstract, pun intended. We're getting abstract tonight. No, yeah, I feel you. I think that makes sense. I like the second because it's cool, but I don't think that there's any real solid evidence for that. Who wins, Homelander or Denji? Homelander. I don't see how Denji could possibly beat him. I think that there are arguments for Pochita being able to take on Homelander, but I guess it depends. Like, Homelander's like big weakness is his arrogance and his like wanting to pontificate and lean into the whole like persona that he has. But if he plays it safe, if he just like stays in the air and shoots lasers, Denji, from what I remember of the series, Denji doesn't have like extremely high durability. His point isn't that he's like he's vulnerable to like gunshots and stuff, right? Let alone like explosions and sabers and stuff. So his or sabers like katana and stuff like that. So I don't think he has extremely high durability. I think it's more like his survivability by being able to guzzle demon blood and resurrect himself, which is also partially contingent on somebody else like revving him up and being able to access the chainsaw. So honestly, Denji's like highest attributes are like his durability, not his durability, his survivability, his tenacity, his stamina, and just like the kind of crazed, like frenzied way that he fights. But I don't like if fucking Homelander just hovered like 100 feet above the air and like spam lasers at him. As lame as that might be, I don't think Denji's like doing anything. Like what can you do? Um, what Hagoromo gave them is a method of using energy, not the energy itself. Madara says the chakra the six paths dispersed was meant to be a linking power, and Ninja was the method of connecting. Wait, let me read that again because I feel like I'm missing something. What Hagoromo gave them is a method of using energy, not the energy itself. Okay. The chakra, well, the chakra that the six paths dispersed was meant to be a linking power. That kind of reads to me as like he did give them the energy, right? Like Kaguya had all the energy in the chakra fruit. Nom, she gets the energy. Then some of it goes to Hagoromo, and then he spreads it and gives it to people. But they have to have a receptacle, right? Like, in order to receive it. Yeah. Oh yeah, Omni. Denji is the protagonist of Chainsaw Man. Sorry, I hope I didn't spoil anything. Although it was pretty vague, but like, yeah. Pochita is another Chainsaw Man character. I won't say anything else. It's a really good series. I would recommend it. Since Makima was damaged by a rocket launcher, but you can argue she got stronger due to fear increase. Yeah. Well, isn't her thing also too that like I feel like there's a panel in the okay, so mild spoilers for Chainsaw Man for the next 30 seconds, just giving y'all a heads up. 3, 2, 1, go. Isn't there like something where Makima dies and then it's like there's a scoreboard or like somebody says like this marks like like death number 24 or something, and then she comes back the next day, right? And this is before she comes back as like the little kid. Like she dies on the train in season 1, and then she just like comes back, and then like in the manga it's revealed that like that this has happened a bunch of times. They just like can't kill her, keep her down or something like that, right? So yeah, again, like I think they have characters in that verse just have different forms of adaptability, survivability. Like Reza with her like again, I only saw the movie once. I saw it like last year, so I'm not remembering it all. But it doesn't Reza do this thing where she like pulls the pin on her neck and like blows her own head off and then like throws it at people as like a hand grenade almost. Like I think these characters like basically have they're extremely disrespectful to their own anatomy. Makima was damaged, but yeah. How about no says not a joke, not an exaggeration. I checked all 5 seasons plus 2 of Gen V plus the VR video game plus Diabolical. That bum actually has worse feats than like first arc Denji. What the fuck? Only Homelander is genuinely losing to the Bat Devil. Wait, I'm sorry. Homelander is genuinely losing to the Bat Devil? I'm so fascinated by that. Because like to me he's basically okay, granted, when he goes up against Soldier Boy and is it Butcher and Huey, right? Like they do actually manage to physically restrain him, but he's like in that building and he's also kind of fucking around, right? Like he wants the smoke, he wants the duel. He laser duels with them. Like I remember him like laser clashing with Butcher, but Butcher is also like, you know, they kind of like clash evenly. They do like the key what do they call that in like the Dragon Ball Z, like the Tenkaichi Budokai games or whatever, where they have the sparring, like the clashing of the ki blasts, right? They basically like do that. Um, but if Homelander were to turn his beam on the Bat Devil, you don't think he would just like slice him in half, or like if he focused his eye beams on the Bat Devil's head, right? Assuming he could maintain that focus, wouldn't his beams just like go right through his head and kill him? Wouldn't that also be the case? Like, don't you think he could like slice up Denji, just like looking at him? There's not a rhetorical question necessarily. Like, if you maintain that position, I'd love to hear it. I'm just like, in my head, the way he's portrayed is so like such a fucking menace, and Denji is so floppy, I guess, in terms of his base durability, that it's kind of like hard to see how that's going down, especially if he just like hovered out of his reach. But again, like I have seen the series. Some of the episodes I have seen them twice. That's the extent of my knowledge. Oh, beam struggle, or beam struggle. Thank you, thank you. I was blanking on the term. It's not unreasonable to suggest that he literally reached chakra outward, but that doesn't align with the way chakra functioned. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I need to do some more research on this. It's an interesting topic. City block calc doesn't account for surface area properly. This goes to a large building across his entire body. Okay, that makes sense. So I think Homelander one-shots Bat Devil. Oh, okay. Oh wait, no, that's real, man. Bat Devil has better AP feed with his cannon. I see. Dr. Chang says, I am saying they received the teaching of how to connect mental energy with others' mental energy, which is ninjutsu's mental with physical energy. I thought that ninju was the sharing of chakra. And then ninjutsu was the weaponization of it, if that makes sense. But I don't know for sure. And to be honest, like, I think my brain has just been like, no, we're done. So I don't think I'm gonna give you guys super great responses. So I think I am eager to get into this, but I think if I start this now, I will basically just wind up being like old man yelling at Cloud for the next 2 hours, and maybe some of you want to see that, but I think I'll spare you. And I will go over it before next stream, and we can talk about this next stream. Also, anybody who's in the Discord, feel free to send me more One Piece stuff. I will continue to learn about that. We can talk about that next week as well. I think Thursday we will finish mouthwashing, and then with I think it's probably not going to be that long, and so we might just like play a random game for a little while after that. And then next Sunday, obviously, we'll be back at this, and yeah, should hopefully have a slightly more calibrated brain then. Let me finish up with chat real quick. Dr. Strangle said, I am saying they received the teaching how to connect mental energy. Oh, yeah. For being mean, that beam generally fails to cut even a wall. His best friend, or his best showing for his heat vision is cutting the plane. Episode 1 of planes are very hollow, made out of aluminum. That's an interesting take. Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of just, I think I see it being effective most of the time that it's used, and it is used on like soft targets, like on just random like civilians for the most part, right? And when it's used on random people or parts of buildings or whatever, it's effective. So I think I have this like passively gathered idea, if that makes any sense, of how it works, but I don't know like what its limitations are in depth the way that you do. So that's why I have topic and get about this later and give all the complicated thoughts if people are interested. Yeah, I'd be genuinely interested to learn. Just please don't spoil the ending because I still have 2 episodes left in season 5. But yeah. Heat resistance below the sub. So I love that sub frying pan level. It's fucking great. So she would lose to Peach from fucking just playing this the other day. Super Mario RPG. In that case, because her whole thing revolves around the frying pan as a weapon, right? Can you send me the calc that suggests his durability is only... Oh, yeah, I will leave that to other folks. But yeah, thank you guys. It's really good to be back in the saddle, so to speak. I've missed chatting with you all about this stuff. Thank you for your patience with my weird brain tonight. I look forward to more chats about this stuff, and I will see you next Thursday for more games, and next Sunday for more Naruto. If you guys are taking Memorial Day off, like if you're doing some fun vacation stuff, hope you will be kind to yourselves, hydrate, get good sleep, basically do everything that I haven't been doing for the past couple of weeks, and I'll see you again soon. Take